on there again. So they probably so you might never even.
No, I think when they came digging test pits to try and find sand for the leach field, they had to drive across there, because they've been working fine. And then all of a sudden it was. So yeah, they got to come like every month. And I was like, there's a new one going in, like, we just gotta make it a few more months.
How's the rest of the project going?
It's going, hopefully just getting floors and next week. And then whole, like I said, whole game.
So I'm gonna leave it tonight, you know, that's a house.
Yeah,
That's good news.
well, in theory he was gonna do it, and then we ended up, we wanted to do like radiant heat throughout like the whole house, like the floors and stuff, and he was like, oh. So like he bailed, and then Steve got, over there to help us.
It's cool stuff, but you gotta be really on your game with it.
Yeah, I think he just didn't want the headache, which I don't mind, but.
I tried not to do anything I didn't know about it, could make it work either.
Yeah.
Before we start, does anyone need to excuse from anything especially invested to get involved with commissioner representation on that? Dave Bassett? Has been a pretty long for the project this year. Bill, ready? Yeah, here we go.
Good evening, everybody. This is Seth Engelborg, Chair of the Nantucket Conservation Commission. We are here for our December 5th meeting in a hybrid fashion, both physically present in the Public Safety Facility room and on Zoom. The first thing we'll be doing is establishing a quorum of members. So physically present in the room, we have Mike Mizzarelli.
Here.
RJ Turcott.
Here.
Joe Plandowski.
Here.
John Schaefer.
Here.
And Seth Engelberg's here. And Tim Brain, are you there?
I'm here.
Tim is on Zoom.
I'm here, yep.
All right. We need a motion to approve the agenda. Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
Second.
We do need to do a roll call vote. So Mike Mizzarelli,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg votes aye. We'll be starting before we start our agenda, we have, in my knowledge, only one continuance on tonight's agenda. That is under notices of intent, the Summer House of Nantucket Realty Trust, 10 and 16 Ocean Avenue, SC 48 3824, continued until January 9th of 2025. With that, we'll be beginning our meeting under public meeting, public comment. This is for items not on the agenda tonight, and we will be using the select board's protocol for public comment. Does anyone physically present in the room wish to make a comment? Does anyone on Zoom wish to make a comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to public hearing. And the first item on the agenda today is Sconset Beach Preservation Fund at 41 through 119 Baxter Road, SC 48 37 36. John and RJ are not sitting on this, and we are opening this hearing as agreed upon specifically for the purpose of finding a special meeting to continue this hearing. I know the applicant wishes that all commissioners are present, and they are in luck because Commissioner Williams has just arrived. So please let it be known for the record that Linda Williams arrived at 5:05. And we will open the discussion on the special meeting dates. Mr. Nyland, how are you today?
Great, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We agree the only purpose of this evening is not to deliberate, take any testimony, but just to decide a date. And we talked about having a special meeting, and we're hoping that we could find a date for that in the very near future.
Thank you. The commission staff sent out some potential meeting dates via email today. And I'm going to ask Will if we have any updates from that email.
I'll get you one. Actually, Mike, you want to? Seth, do you by any chance have the dates up in front of you? I know there were only 4 in January
I can
that
get them.
I have my work laptop struggling.
Okay, so the list of dates included December 18th, January 8th, January 15th, January 16th, January 22nd, January 29th, January 30th, and February 5th. All of these would be at the 10 a.m. to noon time, similar to what we did yesterday. I don't know what commissioners said to staff because we can't reply all due to open meeting law. But I personally indicated I was available on the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd of January, and the 5th of February. So commissioners, did you send the emails in? All right,
And excuse me, Seth, sorry.
go ahead.
I should have clarified. I only saw your email, and if I'm remembering correctly, it was the dates in January. So I was thinking we should see if we could get everybody in one of those January dates.
So the December 18th was out.
That's
Yeah.
out.
So, yeah, so sorry to take the leadership role here, but it is my responsibility as the chair. So the dates that work for me, the first one is January 8th. All the commissioners who are sitting on this, if you can do that date from 10 to noon, raise your hand. Joe? Tim?
I cannot do that date.
Okay, let's move on.
That's the only date I can't do. I can do the rest.
January 15th from 10 to noon. Linda?
Yeah, fine.
Tim, that's good?
Yes,
Okay, Mr. Nyland, is January 15th, from 10 a.m. to noon acceptable for you?
We'll take it.
Okay, with that, we will continue this item, to January 15th.
You should probably get a
At 10
motion on this
a.m.
one, just because.
Seth, this is Vince. If you can hear me,
Yes, go ahead.
would you like to lock in a second date by chance, just to make sure that there's more than one?
We can certainly discuss alternate dates, but
Or
Uh,
just to have two?
yeah, I don't think we necessarily need to do that right now. I think that's something that could happen.
On the 8th of January or somewhere
Yeah,
else.
I think that's something that could happen at the next meeting or the next meeting after that. So we have,
Okay.
the ability to do that outside the meeting.
Thank you. See you January 15th.
Thank you as well. So this will move us on in the agenda to Sconset Beach Preservation. Tim, do you have a question?
yes. Does this mean we will not be discussing at the SBPF at the regular meeting on January 9th?
No,
No, we will not be discussing SPPF at the regular meeting on December 19th or January 9th. The
Okay.
applicant has indicated that they want to get on the meeting schedule and they have assented to the continuance to that date, so that's when the discussion will be had.
Great, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is Sconset Beach Preservation Fund at 59 through 83 Baxter Road, SC 483759. This is represented by Dr. Dunk, who I don't believe is here.
no, he wasn't.
Does
going to
anybody
be.
know if this is an item that has requested a continuance?
Chip Nyland here, Mr. Chairman. I think if
Yes.
Dwight was here, he would be asking for a continuance, so I would do that for him.
Okay, should we continue to our next meeting, which is December 19th?
I would say we should go to January 9th.
Okay. So the applicant wishes to continue to January 9th, so this will continue to January 9th. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be now moving on to 123 Cliff Road Nominee Trust at 123 Cliff Road, represented by Art Gasparo.
You still reading back there?
RJ, are you on this one? No. No. You didn't tell me. All right. Anyone else needs to recuse from this?
So which one is this?
This is number 3, 123 Cliff Road.
Okay, I looked at all of these.
Okay, good evening, Art. You're welcome to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm before you for the second public hearing for this notice of intent application. The commission had requested some additional information related to the groundwater elevation and the foundation. So I provided a letter that detailed that groundwater elevation, as well as to clarify that the applicant agreed to change from a full foundation to a crawl space, such that the we still request a waiver to be within the 2-foot zone from the groundwater. However, we would keep the bottom of the footings above the groundwater. So so that there's no intrusion actually into the groundwater. Further, any dewatering, there is area on this particular property where that dewatering could happen outside of the buffer zone, but we don't see a need for any permanent dewatering, and hopefully none during construction as well, by keeping only using a crawl space foundation. We've also added to the letter the additional waiver provision for being on the opposite side of a way out of the control of the applicant, and explain the alternatives that we considered in the letter as well, and settled on the crawl space, and believe that meets the protected interests. I'd be happy to try to address any outstanding questions should you have them.
Thank you, Art. Commissioners, questions or comments? Seeing none. Members of the public, any questions or comments? Seeing none. Will, do we have everything we need to close?
Yes, we do.
Art, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to close?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I'm gonna take Mike, and Linda, you can get the second. So we do need to do a roll call vote. Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski.
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelberg votes aye. Commissioner Turcott is recused, but among those sitting, that carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that will take us on to Olbris, 196 Hummocks Pond Road, represented by
John.
David Haynes. David, good evening.
We gotta switch chairs again. This chair is broken again. He keeps using the
All
same
right,
chair.
Go over there then.
No, he's bringing the other one. I just can't get it over your wire without making a mess. See, muscles.
David, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, so much better. Oops, he broke the back.
We can't hear you. Your cell service or your signal is not working. You want to try again? You want to log out and try to log back in, and we'll go on to,
Did we just hear him though?
no, that was someone else.
Do you hear me? No.
Yes, that is fine.
Oh, you do hear me. Okay, great. So this is a notice of intent for at 196 Hummock Pond Road. It's a property that you've seen recently. It was about 2.5 years ago, we filed another notice of intent on it. The work was all completed and the certificate of compliance was issued. So, and this is additional work on the property. We're using the original delineation that was reviewed and approved in a determination of applicability. The work that's proposed is to construct a studio, a pathway, fencing, landscaping, a pergola, extending a existing, or not extending, replacing a pea stone patio with a dry laid patio. All work remains outside of, all structures remain outside of 50 feet from the bordering vegetated wetland, and the 25-foot vegetated buffer remains in its natural state. Greater than 50 or 50% or greater of the 25 to 50 is being maintained on site as well. The studio will be constructed a slab on grade using helical piers instead of frost walls and doing any excavation. The fence will be constructed. A silt fence will be put up first, and then the silt fence will be put up, and the pathway will be used as access to get to the property, and it will be restored to a grass path after they complete their work. Also, soils will be stabilized at the completion of work with loam and seed or landscaping, and basically that's it. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you, David. Commissioners, questions or comments regarding the application? Yes, Linda, go ahead.
I think we have some correspondence. Don't we have 2 letters from our butters on this one?
Yeah, you'll be recognized after the commissioners.
We got a couple yesterday, I think, or the day before Lisa sent them out. And I tend to agree with the sentiments in the letters. I'm concerned about this one. I understand everybody's coming in to avoid the 75-foot thing, but if there was 75-foot that ever was going to take effect, it would have been on this project.
Thank you, Linda.
And I have a
Mike?
concern about where it is, how close it is. I'm just
Thank you.
Concerned.
Nothing more to add?
not right now.
Yes, John, go ahead.
Yes. Does this fence, it looks like it goes all the way around the new proposed studio and then all the way on the other side too? Is that right? Am I reading that right?
That's true. It's just,
Mr. Haynes, do you want to answer that?
yes, it does. It's a split rail fence,
Yeah, the split rail fence.
not considered a structure. Yes, it's proposed all the way around to prevent further intrusion into the
Okay,
20.
look, okay.
Okay, other commissioners?
I think work's been done on this that shouldn't have been done. Clearing.
Okay.
You got something?
Do you have anything to add? Yes, RJ, go ahead.
I'd be curious as to how those box turtles were recorded, if they were, for sure. And then towards the end of, I believe it's Vanessa's letter, stating before approval that we need confirmation that 50% of the 25 to 50 was undisturbed. I think that's something that would come with a certificate of compliance.
No, the applicant is required to meet the burden of proof for that. So sometimes we ask for plans to be updated that are shaded to the areas that are planned to be disturbed or not disturbed, or some type of mathematical calculation. If commissioners feel that what has been submitted is not sufficient, it's within our purview to ask the applicant to update the plans.
Okay.
Other commissioners? I can talk about, I know members of the public want to speak, but I can certainly talk about the box turtles because I was involved. So Nantucket, according to the records, really only has 2 dominant primary species of land turtles, the spotted turtle and the painted turtle. Lots of other places around New England have the box turtle. There have been very few sightings of box turtles on Nantucket throughout the last several decades, but there have been some, including the ones that are being referenced in the letters. And this isn't, something that's up for debate. These turtles were captured, photographed, tagged, radio tracked. There was actually an effort at one point to try to get this turtle, one of these turtles and another turtle to go together so that they might mate, because one was a male and one was a female. Fortunately, they ran as far apart as you could imagine. Danielle Odell, who's referenced in the letter here, is the current chair of the Nantucket Biodiversity Initiative, which is also referenced. I was the past chair. Mr. Turcott is the current vice chair. So that is undeniable that there have been turtles in this location. That being said, that doesn't necessarily mean that it meets the standard for what's considered a area for priority wildlife, because the state is looking at much larger pieces of information, and a lot of mapping based decisions go into that. But under our local regulations, if you look at what's said in the rare and endangered species, we have the opportunity to supplement what the state says with their mapping in cases where we have evidence that the state is not sufficiently protecting those types of rare wildlife. We do have to be careful though, because these sightings were several years ago. And we can't make the determination, on that solely, but if we think there are conditions or plan changes that we can do to protect any box turtles that may be present, there certainly are opportunities for that before the commission. Commissioners, comments on that? Yes, RJ, go ahead.
So, do you feel, as the one with the expertise in this, that this can be conditioned?
Yeah, I mean, we have on other projects where we've had these types of wildlife encounters, applied conditions for monitoring, and for demarcation of specific areas, which in this case is not that relevant because they're already proposing a fence to basically limit the further intrusion into the wetland. But we could have not only just construction monitoring, but we could have ongoing monitoring. And if any turtle evidence was found, we could have that trigger additional filings before the commission. That's probably the ability, that's probably the totality of our ability at this point. I don't think we can completely deny a project based on two sightings that are several years old at this point, but we certainly can take it into account and try to condition the project in a way that would be fit. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but I want to recognize members of the public. So we're going to start with people physically present in the room. If you wish to make a comment, please come up to one of these mics. Introduce yourself for the record with your name and any connection you have to the project, whether you're an abutter or a representative, and then you're welcome to say your piece.
Hi, my name is James Briard. I'm a permanent
Yeah,
resident.
you got to
Speak closer.
Sorry.
There you go.
My name is James Briard. I'm a permanent resident at 194 Hammock Pond Road. I'm an abutter to this. I was actually the person who found both of those turtles. But I just thank you for your time. I wanted to come and say a few points, most of which have already been said in the emails that my wife Vanessa have sent. But the points, some haven't been addressed, the calculations of the 50% space between the 25 and 50% buffer zone that have actually been maintained, because I'm not sure if any of you visited the site, but there was an a very large increase in elevation that happened on the original structure that has a large amount of dirt that was pushed back towards the wetland. So I'm not sure if there's an update to that, how far they pushed towards the 25-foot zone. Having a detailed construction protocol in this application as to how they're going to access this site, because due to that, any access that they have from this property has to go down at least a 15-foot, 45-degree grade in the back of the property. And I'm not sure how they plan on getting any machinery back there to clear this. There should be a detailed plan of where they're going to park vehicles back there, put construction materials, so that that's all laid out, and I didn't see any of that in the application. If it's going to have plumbing and electricity, and if there's plumbing there, if there's some alarm system to alert if the plumbing fails and it floods the area, so that someone's alerted to that and can shut the water off so it doesn't just continually dump water into the swamp. And I think most of the other points have been said and addressed through the emails that have been sent, and I appreciate you guys hearing our concerns, and our best hope is that these wetlands are left undeveloped, but at least I hope that we're given a little bit more time to kind of digest this, as we didn't receive notice of this until December 2nd, so it's only been a few days that we've had to digest everything that they're trying to propose in this wetland. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, James. And just to respond to a few of your points, and then Linda, I'll recognize you. If those types of construction methodologies and protocols are something the commission wants, we can ask the applicant for that. Also, it's within our standard practice in constrained lots like this to require that machinery not be parked within the buffer zones at all. Obviously, it has to be there while it's working, but we typically put conditions into place requiring machinery to be stored off-site. And as to lighting, we have standard lighting conditions that would require any lighting to be directed away from resource areas. As to the plumbing, Mr. Haynes, is this structure proposed to have electricity and water?
Yes, it is. And the utilities are going underneath the pathway. And a sewer, a septic line back to the septic is proposed.
Linda?
Where's the septic?
It's in front of the house, but between the house and Hammock Pond Road, out of the buffers.
I know this lot pretty well. The grade change from the front, it goes down every couple of feet, it drops, and it goes down and down and down. In order to get equipment, in order to get utilities, in order to get everything else back there, and I still don't know I can't visualize where the septic is. They have to go through the 25-foot, the 25 to 50 foot to even get access back there. And they have to go past another large wetland that he has delineated on the property, which leaves a very narrow path, but the path is between the 25 and the 50. There's no way around it unless they trudge through the forested wetland there to get to the back of this lot. It's probably 100 some odd, if not more, away from the front one, down in elevation, in between the two, shoehorned in between the two wetlands, just to get around the 50. But you can't get to it without going between, having some sort of an access with equipment and water, unless they have a well, and electricity. They're going to be tearing up between the 25 and the 50 to even get there or get any utilities back there. And as I said, I don't see the septic on the plan for this back structure, which is drastically lower than the front structure, so obviously it has its own back there. I am not jumping up and down about this, approving this one, for so many reasons, because I don't see any way to stop impact on the wetland, even getting to the structure.
Thank you, Linda. Commissioners, any comments on that? Okay, anyone else from the pub? All right, Mike, go ahead.
Just following up on the first public comment, I mean, I think it would be reasonable and courteous to the abutters to ask for construction protocols as well. So, I mean, I'd be in favor of that.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else from the public physically present in the room wishing to speak? Yes, please come up to the mic, identify yourself for the record, what connection you have to the project, and then say your piece.
Patty Tash, 198 Hummock Pond Road. Again, I received this early December. Was pretty shocked when I got it, especially given the positioning of this art studio. It's past the Great Poop Home to my cottage, close. It's right over the fence. I mean, it's on the property line practically 15 feet in. Is that the only dry place on this entire property that they could find to put a studio? And my understanding is that there's a buyer for the property. The buyer wanted to shove this in because they know that as of January 1st, things are changing. So let's get an app in case we ever do want to put something back there, maybe. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what I'm getting a sense of. And it's wet back there. I mean, there's a little path right where that cottage is placed. It's a path that I've been walking for 30 years to walk down to the beach. The Churners owned it. They've always been gracious and said, walk that path anytime you want. Now that cottage will be plunked there and with a fence around it, thereby closing that off, which isn't to say maybe I could walk to the beach someplace else, but that's there. And it's incredibly close to my property, which I know sounds NIMBY, but that's the truth. Moved out there for the rural effects of this property 30 years ago. Big house built right next to me at 200, completely like rocked my world, but I'm over it. Big house in front of me now, this house that we're talking about. Okay, what can I do? I do not want to be sandwiched in on the other side. I feel like a BLT now with the construction of these three structures. It's like, really? Do I have to look at one more building? Like the last place I can look without a building is that direction. And again, all of that wetlands, as Linda was saying, it's all going downhill. Where are these trucks going to be coming in? It's going to disturb the land. It's going to disturb the properties that are going to be involved in accessing anything like that. You've got to have cement trucks go in there. You've got to have landscapers. And I know they're supposed to be not using fertilizer anywhere, but who monitors that? I don't know.
Yeah, that is Will's job to monitor it. He's out on sites every day of his job, and there do need to be more. But just a few points. So I hear you about the neighborhood becoming more congested with buildings. That's not really in our purview. I agree with you totally, but
I mean, again, sticking to the other points.
Yep.
Of access, those are the real points, and nature, and what can I say?
Yep. So we do have abilities to, one of our protected interests is wetland scenic views. We do have ability, and one of our interests is wildlife. We do have the ability to require project conditions that would minimize impacts on wildlife, such as things that would reduce the decibel level of noise and screen areas regarding views. But it is our regulatory role to attempt to permit things. That's what our job is. We have to attempt to permit things. We have to attempt to condition things in order to be permitted, and we can only deny projects if there are no conditions that could be placed on the project that would allow the project to proceed in accordance with the performance standards. We don't always like that. Members of the public don't always like that, but that is our job here. Yes, Linda, go ahead.
I'm going to circle back to this again. Because if I were even to entertain this, they'd have to airlift everything back there. Because the amount of disturbance coming down off that ledge, coming straight down, right on the 25, actually, to get to this structure, to build this structure.
So
I agree, but I'm not done with that, though. I still do not see, you cannot pump into the septic on the front of this lot. You'd be going uphill by 10 or 15 feet. And David just said there's a septic down there next to this structure for the bathroom. But if you put, this is on the 25-foot line, it's close to it, where's the septic? I don't see the septic. And then we got a fence that's butted up right against the wetlands that are in the middle of the lot, as well as the wetland that's in the back of the lot. And I did check these paths, and they've been there since way before 1998. They've been there for a long time. So they're traditional use by people in the neighborhood or other people. I don't know where the septic's going. I don't know how it's going to stay out of the 50 or the 25. So what am I doing with a structure back here that supposedly has water and plumbing? Where's that going? Because it isn't going to the septic in the front of this lot up on Hummock Pond Road, changing grade by that much. So that is another reason why I can't approve this, and I can't approve it because you have the access right at the 25-foot line going back to it, with all that disturbance trying to come down that hill, right next to the other wetland, disturbing that one. How are they going to not impact
Yeah, I
this
see it.
wetland? I can't do it.
It's not our role. Our role
I know
is
methodology isn't.
Our role is to ask the applicant to provide that. So,
Well,
Mr. Haynes, it sounds like
I'm not moving on
you
that
need
yet.
much more information regarding the construction methodology. So if you could get that together and submit to the commission. It sounds like there's also some interest
Septic.
in figuring out the exact plans for the septic, water, and utilities. I know you said they were in the driveway layout, but additional commentary on that would be helpful. Commissioners, is there anything else we think we need from the applicant at this
Well,
time?
Mr. Chairman, if they're in the
Hold
driveway
on.
layout, it's in the 25-foot zone.
It's
Between the
outside,
25 and the
outside
50. Yeah.
It's outside of the 25.
But in
It's within the
between.
50-foot zone.
Yeah.
It also sounds like commissioners would like to see this site,
I agree with that.
so we will schedule a field viewing. Our next field viewing is on Monday, December 16th. As always, if you can't make that date, you can go on your own, or you can coordinate with staff. Yeah, we'll recognize you in a second. We're not gonna close this yet or continue this yet, but it sounds like those are the things that we're looking for at this time. So other members of the public who wish to speak, please come to the mic and identify yourself for the record and any connection you have to the project.
Hi there. My name is Jason Olbreeze. I'm the owner at 196 Hummock Pond Road. I also didn't get a Zoom link for tonight. I was waiting on, unfortunately, so I had to drive down here. Yeah. Yeah, I tried to click through. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I'm here to answer any questions you might have in particular to this request. But I own the property here and at 200 Hummock Pond Road. I was unaware of any species of turtles on the property. We presented an application prior that was closed on this property. A certificate of completion, I think, was done last April. And nothing like that had come up prior, but happy to accommodate anything that the commission feels is necessary. This structure, proposed structure in the rear, is it's meant to be a small one-story additional living space structure known as like an artist studio, personal office. So the actual use of the structure is not a heavy use place with bedrooms or anything like that. Of course, the health department would require it to be connected to the sewer if we have water. So that's why we would propose it. The utilities run along the property line, which is as far away from the wetland as you can be. Electrical, sewer would run along that, and there's access all along that. What direction is it? Well, along that property line there between 196 and 198. to access it. And I would think the project would probably be done a lot by hand. So it's supposed to be a slab on grade so that not to disturb anything below the surface, and that would be easily poured and mixed by hand. So any access to the back would be hand delivered materials, 2x framing as such. Wouldn't need a crane, wouldn't need to bring in heavy machinery since we wouldn't be excavating anything of much other than the conduit to the front of the property. So, but happy to accommodate for construction controls if necessary. Yeah.
Thank you, Jason.
Welcome.
I would ask that you and your representative, Mr. Haynes, have a discussion on that and get us some written details on that so that you're both on the same page. But we appreciate you being here tonight and being willing to answer questions. Yes, Linda, go ahead.
It's not a small structure. It's 28 by 32, and a lot of people in Nantucket that you know and I know are living in structures a lot smaller than 28 by 32. So I'm not going to categorize this as a small, tiny little artist shed type structure of 200 square feet, 400 square feet. This is 890 square feet, 96 square feet, slab on grade. I'm having a terrible time with it. I just don't want to categorize this as a small artist studio of like 400 square feet, because I do a lot of them through my business, and that's not a small structure.
Yeah, I hear that, and I appreciate your concern, but we have to think about really the performance standards and the impact. You know, it is cited, the structure itself is cited outside of the 50-foot buffer in an area under the current regulations where structures are allowed. The fence is non-structural per our current definition. It's allowed. Everything in this project meets the performance standards. It simply needs to be conditioned to reduce and minimize any adverse impacts. I know we all don't like this. I don't want to see it there either, but that's not our job. Our job is to apply the regulatory standard to the project that's being applied for. Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment to say, Jason, if it's possible, if you can be there when we're on site for the upcoming review, that would be helpful, because sometimes if we have questions, we can ask general questions.
Mr. Haynes, I see your hand. Are you able to be at the onsite as well?
I will, yes, I will skip my own Conservation Commission meeting that night. Be happy to be there. If I could also address a couple of the other issues that have been raised that I was unaware of. I didn't realize about the turtles. That could be conditioned they're very often natural heritage will allow work in a zone with turtles of concern by doing basically walking and making sure that there aren't any there, and there's probably a time of year restriction. But also I don't know where Linda is coming up with a big grade change from the front to the back. This is a fairly low and rolling site. The wetlands are there in the lower parts, and it does meet the regulation of a 50-foot setback. The intention is to attach the building to the existing septic up by the road, which was approved by the Board of Health. And in terms of the turtles, also once the site is the work is done, then the turtles can still use the site like they would. So we're happy to do that. We're happy to develop a construction protocol to ensure that it's exactly how it's going to be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. I would say the plan is a little bit sparse in terms of elevational detail. You have, your spot elevations in the northwest corner where the driveway and Hummock Pond Road is, and you have them around the house, but there isn't really any information for where the studio or the wetland flags are. So I would ask you to update the plan with additional elevation so that we can see if what you're representing as a mild grade change is true or not. Mr. Haynes, yes, respond to that, please.
Yes, fair enough.
Okay, RJ, did you have a comment? Okay, are there any other members of the public physically present wishing to comment? Are there any members of the public on Zoom who wish to comment? Please raise your hand if so. We have 6 attendees. No one? Okay, Mr. Haynes, do you have a follow-up comment?
No, thank you. I'm sorry. I forgot to lower my hand.
Okay, it sounds like we're moving this towards a continuance, but before we do that, is there anything else that commissioners need us to ask the applicant to supply? Commissioner Williams wants more details on the septic. Anything else beyond what we said already? So we'll be doing the field viewing on the 16th at 3 p.m. And Mr. Haynes, you assent to a continuance till December 19th?
Yes, please.
This will continue till December 19th. And for all the members of the public who participated today, thank you. If you have questions or comments in between now and the next meeting, submit them to Will. And feel free to attend on the 19th as well for any additional follow-up. So that will move us on in the agenda to Mid-Island Services LP, 41 and 43 Sparks Avenue, represented by Mark Ritz. Mark, good evening.
Good evening, Mark Ritz from Site Design, representing the applicants at Mid-Island Gas. The project before you this evening is a request to do an in-place replacement of the existing underground fuel storage tanks at the gas station. This is a replacement that needs to be done periodically to maintain the tanks in good working, non-leaking order. The tanks are currently located under an existing concrete pad. The pad will be cut, removed, tanks will be excavated, replaced with new tanks, reburied, and a pad will be re-poured over them. The part of the work is just inside the 100-foot buffer zone to a wetland which is located on the other side of Sparks Ave. That's pretty much the extent of the project. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Questions or comments from commissioners? Questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing none. Do we have a file number? DEP is an interesting organization. Mr. Ritz, do you know of a file number?
I don't believe we have received one. I checked their site earlier today and didn't see anything.
Does not look like we have the DEP number. I just wanted to check anyway. Sometimes we get them before they're reflected on the site.
Would you like to continue until December 19th?
Yes, I would, because I don't have much choice.
Well, you could continue to a later date. That's your only other choice.
No, we'd like to get this done as quickly as possible. So hopefully we can, it'd be great if we could have an order drafted for next time, and hopefully we'll get the file number.
Thank you. This will continue till December 19th. That moves us on to J&A Joint Testamentary Trust at 15 Bear Street, also represented by Mark Ritz.
Good evening. Once again, Mark Ritz from Site Design, representing the applicants at 15
Mark, sorry,
Bear
but
Street.
can you speak loud? It's soft in here.
Sorry, once again, Mark Ritz representing the applicants at 15 Bear Street. The proposal before you this evening is a request to construct a garage apartment on a portion of the subject property just outside the 50-foot buffer zone to an off-site wetland. The garage apartment is going to be constructed on a slab foundation, so we'll be able to stay above the 2-foot groundwater separation. All structures are outside the 50. The lot is currently developed. It's just a second building on an existing developed lot. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Questions or comments from commissioners? Questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing none, do we have a file number for this?
I don't believe we have one for this one either. I think I'm out of luck on my file numbers this
You are.
evening.
All right, Will, is that true?
Yeah, sorry, just had to verify. I was playing with volume sliders. No DEP number either. Sorry, Mark.
Okay, with that being said, Mark, would you like to continue till 12/19?
Yes, please.
This will continue till December 19th. Thank you. And we'll move on to 8 Gull Island LLC at 8 Gull Island Lane, represented by Mark Ritz with Commissioner Turcott recused. Mark, you're up again.
Once again, Mark Ritz from Site Design, representing the applicants at 8 Gull Island. The project before you is a request to basically pick up an existing house, put a new foundation underneath, and elevate it slightly higher than it currently is. This house, the front portion of this house has been here for quite some time. I believe the date plaque on it is sometime in the 1740s. It is located partially within the 50-foot buffer zone to an off-site wetland, which is located on the other side of Gull Island Lane at a considerably lower elevation. There's a bit of a hole there with a wetland in it. We're requesting approval to lift the house, put a new foundation under it, remove an existing retaining wall that is located between the house and Gull Island Lane. And that's pretty much the extent of it. No structural additions, except some additional steps on the backside of the house, outside the 50 to get down to existing grade.
Thank you.
With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions from Commissioner Public.
Questions or comments from members of the commission? Yes, John. Go
Hey,
ahead.
Mark, the steps are outside the 50 or kind of right on the 50 there?
The steps, there's an existing step right on the 50. That's not proposed. That's an existing step. And we're going to, right now, there's a retaining wall that is a little bit higher than the level of the street. And then you drop down several feet to where the house is. We're basically going to bring the house elevation up to where that retaining wall height is to be level with the street. So we're not going to need any new steps on the street side of the house. It's going to be the same single step. It's just going to be at street grade now. The additional steps are going to be on the deck and in the back outside the 50.
Thank you.
Yes, Linda, go ahead.
Just for jollies, you have 8 Bassett Road attached to this application. A site I know well. The last page is 8 Bassett Road. Because I was looking at the site plans. And you have 8 Gull Island, and the next page is 8 Bassett Road. Well, that's not this site.
I wonder if there was a 8 Bassett is my next one up on the list. So I wonder if
It's in the page is in this filing, but we'll just get over that.
I apologize for the mix-up in the PDF compilation there.
So, other commissioners? So my comment is related to the request for the waiver to for the 2-foot separation for the pool. We've consistently not been favorable of that waiver request. We have, generally been in favor of that request for dwellings, but there's ample alternatives for pools, including shallower pools or above grade pools. So, Mr. Ritz?
I don't see a pool.
Gull Island doesn't have a pool. Bassett's has a pool. I apologize if
It's not just the
did
it's not just the last page. Then your waiver request has
I
incorrect
wonder, there must have been an error in the compilation. This one's going to be continued anyway because of the file number. I can send in a revised PDF, making sure everything is in the right place, because I apologize for any confusion. This one does not have a pool. There's no room for a pool, and there's no intent to put a pool on this one.
Yeah, I now see that looking at the plan, but in your narrative, there is a request for a pool and a request for a waiver for that, so.
I
maybe
apologize.
send an updated file.
Yes, I will, and I apologize for the confusion.
All right. Questions or comments from members of the public? Yes, please come to the microphone, identify yourself for the record and any connection you might have to the project, and then say your piece.
Hi, Sarah McLean. I own 6 Gull Island Lane right next door. And I just wanted to say that I'm in support of what the neighbors are doing in terms of lifting the house to what is effectively existing grade. Right now, it's sunken down 2 feet. And as far as what that grade does to the property next door, my property, it basically brings it in line with what I have in terms of along the lane. And so I just wanted to say that I have no issues with it at all.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yep.
Yes, please introduce yourself for the record and your connection to the project and say your piece.
Hi, Willa Arsenal, representing the Nantucket Land and Water Council. Just to clarify, there's no waiver request for this particular property, right? The waiver request will be for 8 Bassett.
No, there does need to be a waiver request for this property because the dwelling exists currently within the 50-foot buffer zone, and it's proposed to continue to exist within the 50-foot buffer zone, but there are a variety of waivers that could easily be applied, including the pre-existing use or the B, which relates to offsite wetlands. But yes, we will need to apply a waiver to permit this project correctly.
Okay, and just given the confusion with the packet this week, it'll be included for next week's or next sessions.
Yes, Mr. Ritz, I think we're all requesting that you clean up the packet and resubmit.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
we have to continue this for file number anyway, so.
So, seeing no one else from the public, would you like to continue to December 19th?
Please.
This will continue until December 19th. And now we'll move on to Sigolini Properties LLC at 8 Bassett Road, represented by Mark Ritz. Mr. Turcott and Mr. Mizzarelli are recused, but we do have enough for a quorum. So Mark, go ahead.
Once again, Mark Ritz from Site Design, representing the applicants at 8 Bassett Road. Hopefully I compiled this PDF correctly and have all the right parts in there and no confusion. The project before you is essentially a request to re-permit something that was permitted a couple years ago and has since expired. With the one caveat that the previous wetland delineation was actually more intrusive to the property than the current wetland delineation, which has been updated based on a filing on the abutting property at 200 Pulpus. So we have actually a little bit more room outside the 50-foot buffer. Part of the previous work included the construction of an upgraded septic system, which was carried out, but the housework was not. So we are requesting approval to construct a house entirely outside the 50-foot buffer zone, patios, decks, etc., all outside the 50-foot buffer zone. And we are requesting a pool essentially in the same location where a pool was previously permitted. We are requesting a 2-foot groundwater separation for the pool. Again, that was also previously permitted. If the commission has issues with that, we can modify the pool design. But that was something that was previously approved for this property. Approximately, I would say, I think it's about 5 or so years ago. I forget the exact date. The other work on the site, we're proposing to basically reconstruct the existing pervious driveway. It's getting kind of old. We're keeping the same configuration. It's going to be either shell or gravel. We're just going to kind of resurface it a little bit and grade it out so that it doesn't have any ruts or holes in it. That's about the extent of the project. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions from the commission.
Thank you, commissioners. Linda?
There's no site
Dave?
plan.
Yeah.
Go back to the other one.
Mr.
Yeah.
Rizzo, the plan for this didn't get into 8 Bassett Road. It is
It's
in Gull Island, so you can find it there, but we will need a complete packet that has the plan. But commissioners, if you're looking for it, it's in the other filing.
When I send these into the commission, I send the NOI as one PDF, and I send the site plans as separate PDFs attached in the same email. So I'm not entirely sure what happened, but I can make sure that I resend everything to the commission. But they do come as separate attachments to the email.
Separate emails would probably be a better idea.
Well, I send one email per filing with the site plan as one attachment and the NOI as another. So, somewhere along the lines, some wires got crossed, but I can make sure to resend
It
everything.
may have been us or the staff, but there was 21 NOI submitted, so.
Oh, I understand completely, but I'll make sure to resend them so that we everybody has those as they should be for the next meeting.
That being said, commissioners, questions or comments on the merits of the application? Linda?
As you know, I have a great deal of trouble with this 2-foot arbitrary separation number. And we have talked about it when we were doing our updates on our rules and regs. So personally, I don't have an issue with it. But I still think at some point we need to address that it got here, not by the greatest proof that it needed to be there at 2 feet. Because I mentioned it many times before RJ and John came on, exactly how that 2-foot thing got there. And it had nothing to do with science or anything else. So I'm still I don't mind giving waivers for it because I still need some basis for it in the first place, other than vindictiveness. So that's just my comment on the waiver part.
Thank you. John, go ahead.
Can you enlighten me with what you're talking about here a little bit better?
Yeah, briefly. No, let's do it. Just the 30-second overview.
Okay, 30-second overview. My office was across the hall from the Concom on 37 Washington Street when I was running the ZBA. There was a project that came up that was contentious, and an independent contractor in that office didn't like anything about it, didn't like the proponents, didn't like anything. And they came up with this 2-foot separation arbitrarily, because I heard most of the conversation. And we brought it up when we were doing our rewrites of this over the past year and a half, I guess now, 2 years. And I wanted to deal with it at that point, And we just sort of just left it alone because I was more in favor of actually individually deciding where that separation should be per project, as opposed to leaving the arbitrary 2-foot thing, which had no scientific basis at all at the time, but was done because somebody was mad at something else. So that's why I don't have a problem, that's in a nutshell, but I don't
So-
have a problem with it.
So the reason for having a separation
Separation, period,
distance to
yeah.
groundwater, well, first of all, the reason for not allowing structures to go into the groundwater is because if they're in the groundwater, they could displace water,
Displace,
cause
yeah.
problems with subsurface infiltration, et cetera. The scientific reason for having a separation distance to groundwater is because groundwater changes. And we know as sea level rise is increasing, sea level rise doesn't just impact coastal properties, it actually pushes groundwater up closer to the surface. Is 2 feet the right amount? We don't know, but that's the reason why there should be some separation.
And I agree.
That being said, we're working with the regulations that we have. So we have to apply those regulations or waivers to those regulations.
So that's why I'm not
Speaking of-
adverse to the waiver for a regulation unless
Yeah,
they can
hold
prove
on.
that it's some point, a different distance.
So speaking of waivers, part of the process for requesting a waiver is providing a written alternatives analysis from the applicant, and that has not been provided. So we would need a written alternatives analysis related to the pool about why a different pool design couldn't be used. I mentioned some of these before, a shallower pool, an above ground pool, a raised pool, et cetera. And we also need a alternatives analysis related to the dwelling foundation, because they're proposing a full foundation here. And there are plenty of other types of foundations that could be used. So we need a written alternative analysis on both those things. And then my question is related to the reconstruction of the driveway. And what does that really mean? I mean, under our requirements for use in normal maintenance, we would allow that driveway to continue to be in the location that is in because it's pre-existing. But if this was a new proposed driveway, we would not allow it there. It's within a 25-foot wetland buffer, and it's honestly probably within 5 feet of the wetland. So it's an area where we would definitely not allow it. So when you start to say reconstruction versus maintenance, we need more specifications on what that means. Yes, Linda, go ahead.
On this groundwater separation thing, I agree with you, there has to be some calculus. Could they do it by lot? And they say the groundwater is 8 feet, let's say, as opposed to 2 feet, which is what the regulations are. If they came in and proved to us that it was greater than 2 feet, or I'd like to know what the actual ground covers are on things. I mean, it could very well be greater than 2 feet and we don't have a
Yeah.
problem.
So this is.
But I don't know.
So I'm going to cut you off because this is a discussion we should have for when we do the next regulatory update. And I agree with you, it's just not germane to this application. Okay. So Mr. Ritz, would you like to make any comments related to what I said?
I will address the driveway issue. The reconstruction perhaps is too much verbiage. What we're really proposing to do, it's an old existing driveway. We just want to grade out or fill in the ruts that are there and resurface it with either shell or gravel so that it's but it's not getting wider, it's not getting substantially graded, it's just to smooth it out so that it's not rutted and to resurface it with a pervious material. No significant grading, no widening, no heroics of any kind.
Thank you. Yeah, no edging, no widening.
No edging, just flatten it out and resurface it.
Okay, so that, we'll call that maintenance. Other commissioners, questions or comments? Members of the public, any questions or comments? Yes, please introduce yourself for the record.
Hello again, Willa Arsenal for the Nantucket Land and Water Council. Yeah, I just would like to echo Commissioner Engelberg's concerns for an alternative analysis for the full foundation and the pool. We'd like to see that as well. And then in terms of the driveway, it does seem to cross really closely between the existing wetlands. Would it be possible to require silt fencing on either side of the driveway during construction? I see it on one side. It just seems to be such a concerning area.
Yes, we can require any type of erosion and sedimentation controls we want that would protect the resource areas without the applicant's consent. So I think having silt fencing or other sediment controls on both sides, because there are wetlands on both sides, is well within our purview, and it would be a good idea.
And then I just had a couple of questions about the separation from groundwater. I don't know if this would be appropriate to ask them now.
If they're specific to this application, then yes.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the new foundation will be placed within seasonal high groundwater as it stands now. And again, I realize there was a lot of NOIs this week and the applications kind of got mixed up. So I apologize if I missed this in switching back and forth between the site plans, but
Mr. Ritz, is there intrusion into groundwater or just into the separation distance?
I believe there's just intrusion into the separation distance, but we will take a closer look at that and provide additional info for this on the next meeting.
Yes, and if you could provide the exact elevations, that would be preferred.
We do have in the plan, we do have soil data logs when the test pits were done for the septic system that show groundwater elevation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other members of the public? Okay, so I think we're moving this towards a continuance as well. Mr. Ritz, would you like to continue this to December 19th?
Please.
That will continue until December 19th.
Thank you.
We'll move on to DJS Realty Trust at 11 Oak Hollow Lane, represented by Brian Madden. Brian, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants, representing the applicant. The proposed project involves a installation of a small structure labeled as a tiny house with an adjoining deck entry and two shed structures that abut the tiny house. The resource areas on site include a bordering vegetated wetland within the southerly portion of the lot. There's also an isolated vegetated wetland across Oak Hollow Lane to the southeast. The proposed structures are located upgradient of the 50-foot buffer zone, no work within the 25-foot. The structures are proposed within an existing lawn area, and they are proposed to be situated on pilings or sonotubes. And we are requesting a waiver for the pilings to be located within the 2-foot separation to high groundwater. High groundwater is below elevation 23. The proposed grade around the structure is around 25. The pilings are likely to go down about at least 2 feet, but they represent a de minimis impact and pretty environmentally sensitive design. Yeah, I don't know. Only a small portion of the plan is currently in view right now, but I will turn it over to questions. And also, we do have a DP file number on this one, so.
Does staff have that file number?
We do, yes, and sorry, I'm not sure what is stuck on the screen right now on
We're
Zoom,
experiencing
but
technical difficulties,
that is,
but it's
yeah.
in the packet, so while we try to get it up, commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? John, go ahead.
Yeah, Brian, hi. Where does the Barnes OGP grinder pump and pit go to?
Oh, yeah, good question. Thanks you. I failed to mention that there is septic and water connections. There's an existing force main within Oak Hollow. So it's connecting directly to that line. And that's all outside
Okay,
the
I
50
see it
foot.
now. Thanks.
Yeah.
Other commissioners? Okay, members of the public? Seeing none, we have a file number. Do we have everything else we need to close?
Indubitably. Bringing it
Not
back.
that word again.
Brian, would you like to close?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Is there a motion to close?
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda and Joe, for the second. We're gonna do a roll call vote. Mike Misrelli,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Joe Plendowski.
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg votes aye. That carries unanimously. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. So we'll be moving on now to Lavender Point Nominee Trust at 8 Lavender Lane, represented by Brian Madden. Brian, hello again.
Hello. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants representing the applicant. Proposed project involves some site improvements to the existing property. Resource areas on site include a coastal dune system. This is a larger property at the end of Eel Point that extends for quite some distance. Coastal dune's pretty set back away from the development footprint. There are a few isolated vegetated wetlands between the area of the coastal dune and the coastal bank. The proposed structures are located outside of the 100-foot buffer zone to those isolated wetlands. The most landward resource areas being the flood zone, land subject to coastal storm flowage, elevation 8, and the upgradient coastal bank. We had previously filed an RDA to confirm resource area boundaries on this property back in 2018. Nothing has substantively changed out there. The coastal bank is based off of the program policy and the slope ratios up gradient of the flood zone elevation. So what is being proposed is a few additions onto the existing dwelling and cottage, construction of a studio, a cabana, a pool, along with associated patios, decks. There's a septic system upgrade well outside the 100-foot buffer zone. This driveway reconfiguration that's also outside the 100-foot buffer zone, along with utility connections, some regrading and landscaping. So all the structures are outside the 50-foot buffer zone. There is a small amount of work within the 25-foot buffer zone associated with the decommissioning of the existing septic system. All the other work is outside of the 25-foot buffer zone, but for the decommissioning, there are existing leach pits located within the 25-foot buffer zone between the existing edge of the lawn and the top of the coastal bank. And so those will be, per Title V, pumped out and backfilled with clean sand. And we are proposing to restore that naturally vegetated footprint with in-kind vegetation. So we're proposing to plant bayberry shrubs and some switchgrass plugs within that footprint to restore that footprint back to pre-existing conditions. And the septic upgrade represents a long-term net benefit improvement to the resource areas. So we are requesting the waiver under that provision. I will turn over to questions.
Thank you, Brian. So the delineation in the RDA is no longer valid because it's been more than 3 years. Is that the delineation that's used in this plan, or has a recent delineation been done?
It's been updated, verified, but there has been no changes to any of the resource areas.
Okay, if you could provide dates and evidence of those updates and verifications to the commission, we will need that. Commissioners, questions or comments? Yes, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian, on the pool, it shows, is that a boardwalk that's there, that's just sort of over the pool now, or what is that on the plan?
Yeah, that's an existing at-grade boardwalk that's present. The shaded portion is proposed to be removed. So that portion that extends over the pool and then into the 50-foot will be removed.
Okay, great. The shaded portion just, it looked like slats to me, so, but thank you for clarifying.
Other commissioners? Any members of the public wishing to speak? Okay. So I don't feel comfortable closing this without details on the updated delineation. Will, have you been out to the site and have you looked into the delineation?
I can't give you any definitive proof that it was updated, but I typically take Brian's word, but I think if we hold off to have just some sort of documentation of that, visually and from my inspection, there's definitely not a substantial change from what's on this plan, though, if that is helpful, but I'll never make anything up if I don't have definitive proof.
Yes, RJ, go ahead.
I'd be supportive of waiting to see the update because 3 years is a long time. And there may have been changes that we don't see.
Okay, Mr. Madden, would you like to respond?
Yeah, thank you. So is the coastal bank is the most landward resource area. That's obviously a static resource area. This is a very stabilized, vegetated coastal bank that's inset pretty far away from any water. As you all know, there's a big rolling dune system out further to the west and to the north. I mean, that the survey has been updated more recently, but is that what you're most primarily concerned with, or any of the other down gradient resource areas?
No, it's yeah, confirming the coastal bank line.
Yeah, I mean, this is a current topo, so that's all topo driven.
Okay, yeah, RJ, go ahead.
I still would like to see it, Mr. Madden, through the chair. He said it's already been done, so I'd definitely still like to see that. It's just good practice because this is older, even if this bank hasn't moved. Thank you.
Okay.
Other
Yeah,
commissioners?
we can certainly provide those dates.
Okay, thank you. We specifically have it called out in our regulation as one of the things that's required before closing a permit, so we should follow the regulations. Other commissioners, thoughts or comments? Okay, Mr. Madden, would you like to continue to the 19th?
Yes, please.
This will continue till December 19th. And that will move us on to the Nick/Pat Redding Nancy Breckenridge LLC at 170 Cliff Road, represented by Brian Madden.
Thank you again. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants, representing the applicant. The proposed project involves a proposed 20 by 40-foot pool with auto cover, dry laid stone patios, a cottage with utilities, and regrading and landscaping. There are no waivers required for this project. There's a bordering vegetated wetland within the southerly portion of the site that all work is upgrading of the 25-foot buffer zone. Less than 50% between the 25 and 50 is being altered. The structures themselves are greater than 50 feet away, and both the proposed cottage and the pool have been designed in a manner to maintain that 2-foot separation to high groundwater. Crawl space foundation is proposed for the cottage. Initially, a full basement was being contemplated, but ultimately eliminated given the groundwater separation. The pool, the bottom of the pool will be situated above elevation 17.8, whereas observed high groundwater is at elevation 15.8. Crawl space foundation will be at elevation 18. There's proposed stormwater management runoff from the patio and structures to a subsurface infiltration system. And as mentioned, no waivers are required, and I'll turn over to questions.
Thank you. Do we have a file number for this one?
Indeed, we do.
Okay. Questions or comments from commissioners? Questions or comments from members of the public? Okay. Will, do we have everything we need to close?
Yes, we do.
Brian, would you like to close?
Yes, please.
Is there a motion to close?
Motion to close, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
I'll take Joe for the second by roll call vote. Mike Mazzarelli?
Aye.
RJ Turcott?
Aye.
Linda Williams?
Aye.
Joe Plandowski?
Aye.
John Schaefer?
Aye.
Tim Brain?
Aye.
Seth Engelborg votes aye. And that is closed. And we will move on now to Morash Gift Realty Trust,
And he's here.
35 Meadowview Drive, represented by Brian Madden.
And Jeff is here.
Thank you very much. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants. There's bordering vegetated wetlands on the southerly portion of the site, bordering on a pond. The proposed project involves the installation of a pool, dry laid stone patio, cabana, along with utilities and some regrading and landscaping. The pool, as well as the retaining wall and the cabana, are all situated up gradient of the 50-foot buffer zone to the BVW. Again, no work within the 25, less than 50% altered between the 25 and 50 foot. We have designed the pool to be above the 2-foot high separation to high groundwater based on soil testing. High groundwater is at 22.3. The bottom of the pool will be elevation 24.5. We also have some subsurface infiltration systems to collect runoff. And again, no waivers required for the project. Turn
Thank
over
you,
to questions.
Brian. Commissioners, questions or comments?
Is
Any members? Yeah, John, go ahead.
that labeled wrong? It says both buffers are 50 foot. Should that be 25 and 50?
Good catch. Yes, it should be.
Yeah, both of them say 50.
Yeah, so that's what that is,
The
right?
red is 25.
Red's 25? Okay, thanks.
The purple is 50. The blue is 100.
It was confusing me there.
But yes, it is incorrectly labeled.
I did see that the other day, and I'm just like, what? Okay.
That being said, there's not really any work proposed inside of the 50, so it's fine. I think we will ask for an updated plan to be submitted, but we can do that
To staff.
after closing the order. Yeah, that's just a typographical thing.
I saw it the other day, but I just like,
Any members of the public wishing to comment? Okay, seeing none.
do we have a number?
Do we have everything we need to close?
Yes, we do.
Oh,
Do
good.
we have a
Yes.
file number?
Double yes. Brian got all his file numbers. He must have gave
Must have
Mark
paid
a
somebody
Christmas
off
present.
there.
All right. So we'll deal with the typographical error in the plan in order.
Yep.
And with that, is there a Motion to close.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Second.
Linda, and thank you, Mike, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
RJ Turcott.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski.
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg, aye. That carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we'll move on to Pennant Realty LLC, 5 Cascada Chorus Way, represented by Brian Madden, with Commissioner Turcott recused. Brian, you're up again.
Thank you very much. Last one. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental Consultants. The proposed project involves construction of a single-family dwelling with some attached porches, a septic system, and driveway. The leach system is located greater than 100 feet away from the bordering vegetated wetlands that occupy the northerly portion of the site. This extends out to Nantucket Harbor, and there's coastal bank along the shoreline, but this is set back quite a ways away from the coastal bank and coastal resource areas. We have established the limit of work in a manner to be upgrading of the 25-foot buffer zone, less than 50% within the 25 to 50 is being altered. And the structure is located outside the 50-foot buffer zone. This does include a kind of a walkout design. Initially, when we submitted this, we were asking for a waiver from the groundwater separation. However, we have subsequently conducted a soil test out there. I think it was conducted the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, so we didn't get an opportunity to get this information to the commission by last Friday. But the soil test confirmed that we do not need the waiver. That groundwater is our structure foundation will be maintaining that 2-foot separation, and I'll be providing a little bit more information to the commission on that front. This site is located within Mass Natural Heritage mapped area, so we are still within that 30-day review window, and we'll need to continue. But as the project will be proposed, there are no waivers required. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. And also, Arthur Reed is also on as well.
Thank you. Commissioners, questions or comments?
No, he's got to wait anyway.
Members of the public, questions or comments? Okay, seeing as how we need to continue for natural heritage and to get that updated soil test information, would you like to continue to December 19th?
Yes, please.
This will continue to December 19th.
We're never going to be out of here by Christmas.
Yeah, and that will move us on to Torque Ac LLC at 1 Mothball Way, represented by Paul Santos. Paul, good evening. Yes.
I'm gonna save everybody some time real quick and let you know. I don't think you got any DEP numbers yet, but
No,
we should still hear everything.
I
but
have the
just
next
wanted to-
5 applications,
And
none
not
of them
one
were received
number?
a DEP file number.
Not one
Brian
number.
got the lucky ticket today.
And-
Margaret's and Paul, not so much.
This is going to be Armageddon on the 19th.
Okay, Paul, let's recognize you for the application.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors. On behalf of the applicant, which is Torque ACK LLC, they are actually a contract purchaser of this property that is currently owned by Galley West LLC. 1 Mothball Way is a developed residential lot located on Hummock Pond. It is a existing dwelling that was constructed in the early 90s. And what we are proposing is the potential move off, and if we can slide over, Will, potential move off of that structure and construction of a new dwelling along Mothball Way. The footprint itself is proposed to be as close to Mothball Way as we can get. There is a 20-foot front yard setback. Dwelling would be set back approximately 21 feet. If you can see, it's been rotated clockwise. It has moved further away from the resource areas, and those resource areas are a coastal bank and a bordering vegetated wetland that are located along the edge of the pond. So within this area, the dashed line would be the relocated dwelling footprint or dwelling envelope. The solid line you see behind would be a deck. It would be outside of the 50-foot no build, and the dwelling itself would be pushed actually outside of Concom jurisdiction for approximately half of the dwelling would be outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. The decking would still be in the general location of the existing structure. However, the proposed dwelling would be moving further away from the resource areas. The site or the dwelling itself is not located within a flood hazard area. The site is not mapped under the Mass Endangered Species Act. As we had said, I'm going to have to continue this because we do not have a DEP file number. And in lieu of that, the existing structure that is there now is a combination. It's basically a crawl space with a smaller section of 7-8 foot foundation, which is for the existing utility room. I would venture to say that that structure as it exists today is constructed at or very close to the existing groundwater table for the pond. We do see a pretty fair fluctuation in the groundwater based on the soil conditions that are next to the pond and the variable nature of the pond elevation over the years. So I think when I come back to you prior to that next meeting, I think I will submit a waiver application for the groundwater only because of the existing structure as it, like I said, as it exists today is at or close to the existing groundwater table. And construction, any new construction that would be out there would be a similar situation. The first floor elevation of the current dwelling is 12.5. The proposed dwelling would be similar to that. Ground elevation is 10. And so the groundwater waiver for replacement of the existing foundation, I think, will be required. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. The site itself had historically been provided with well water. The Mothball Way does now have town water, and this dwelling is serviced by town water. It also has the benefit of a shared septic system, which the septic system is located on the westerly portion of the abutting parcel in excess of 300 feet from the pond. So we were able to do a shared system for this particular property in which we could keep the septic system farthest away from the pond as we could. It's a conventional system, septic tank, pump, with the standard leach bed being, like I said, in excess of 300 feet from the pond. And I'm happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Paul. Questions, comments from commissioners? Okay, members of the public? Seeing none. Paul, would you like to continue till December 19th?
Please, yes.
I will continue till December 19th.
Thank you.
We'll move on to Hale, 117 Nantucket Road, represented by Paul Santos.
Great, thank you. Thank you on behalf of the property owner and applicant, in this case, Charles and Karen Hale. This is an application for the installation of an in-ground pool with associated grading, landscaping, and utilities within the buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. The wetland itself is associated with Maxey's Maxey's Pond. Property is located at 117 Matticat Road. And this property was before the commission a number of years back, in which a proposal for a studio was approved. That order had since lapsed, and that work was had never been completed. So the plan you see before you, this is an existing developed residential lot, primary dwelling, secondary dwelling, on-site septic system, and you'll see the pool area to the right of the main dwelling. It is proposed pool is set, the pool bottom is set at elevation 14, estimated groundwater is at elevation 10, so no waivers are required for this particular application. The pool itself, and in this particular case, I believe we set the patio itself too, outside the 50-foot no build. We are grading between the 25 and 50 for a limited area. It does not exceed the 50% requirement under the standards for a vegetated wetland. There's a large area of the 25 and 50 still remaining on the subject property. This property itself is located within a mapped area under the Mass Endangered Species Act. The prior studio itself was issued a NHESP determination of a no adverse impact and not a prohibited take under the Wetlands Protection Act. This application has been delivered again because that application is in excess of 5 years. That application has lapsed. So this application has been filed simultaneously with NHESP. And obviously, we're not only do we not have our DEP file number, we're still within their 30-day time frame, and they have not opined on this current application. So this is the application for a pool. No waivers are required, and we will need to continue for both the DEP file number and also the issue of the determination from NHESP. We are outside of any particular flood zone, and other than that, it's a somewhat similar application to where the studio was previously proposed. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Sorry, through the chair to you, Paul, if I missed this, but what kind of regrading is this going to require? Thank you.
Sure. If you look at the grading there, that's probably a 3-to-1 slope, RJ. So if you look, the pool itself, the deck elevation of the pool is at elevation 20. And the lowest grade that we're dropping down to is approximately elevation 15. So there is, if you slide over, there's a 3-to-1, or every 3 feet of horizontal distance, we're dropping 1 foot. And you can see right there. So the grading is right there, those heavy lines, the contour lines, you're going from 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15. So there's an approximate 5-foot difference between the pool deck to the bottom of the slope at a 3-to-1 maximum slope. A 3-to-1 slope is a slope that you can actually walk on and mow if need be. The pond itself is down around approximately, I believe, around elevation 8 or so. The wetland edge that we flagged, you'll see the elevations, that's down around elevation 9, and anywhere from 9.5 to 10. So you still have a pretty good drop off from the slope of the pool to the area to the edge of the pond itself. It's a pretty good drop off when you walk off down that side.
Thank you. I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the hearing, but Mike Miserelli is recused from this one. Any other comments from commissioners, questions? My question is related to the proposed 6-inch trees to be removed in the location where the pool or patio is. We definitely normally like to see retention of trees in order to provide wildlife habitat and infiltration capacity and all that. I understand it's directly where the proposed pool is, but would the applicant be willing to either attempt to relocate those trees or to replant to make up for that lost resource?
I'm sure the Hales would have no problem with that. Though I don't think those are ornamental trees. I think those are actually probably been trees that have been there for some time. But I'm sure there would be no problem with, yeah. They're not pines. They're,
Yeah,
you know,
I'm not sure about
yeah.
that, but I think we're going to require replanting there.
Yep.
Members of the public, any questions or comments? All right. Would you like to continue, Paul, to the 19th?
Yes.
We'll continue to December 19th. And we'll move back on in the agenda to 49 Nobodere LLC at 49 Nobodere Avenue. Still represented by Paul Santos.
Okay, thank you. For the record, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner and applicant, 49 Nobodere LLC. This application is for the proposed construction of a single-family dwelling and a septic system.
Sorry, Paul, to cut you off, but would you like to present 49 and 51 at the same time?
Well, they are two separate entities, so I'd be happy to, but they are two separate applications with two separate owners. So I think I'd prefer to do it.
Okay.
I mean, we can, they're not, neither one of them is too.
Okay, go ahead.
Not much
For
heavy
40
lifting,
go ahead
so.
for 49.
So this application is proposed construction of a single-family dwelling and septic system with associated grading, landscaping, and utility installation within the buffer zone to a coastal bank. Proposed work is shown on the plan that you see before you. This property is located on the south side of Nobodere Avenue. It's property that's been in the same family for a number of years. Resource area here is the top of a coastal bank. This, for those of you familiar with that Surfside, this area of Surfside, it's a stable coastal bank as you have the coastal bank. Then you have a dune on the southerly side of it, which works its way down to the coastal beach. So you have that heavily vegetated coastal dune, which protects this coastal bank. I've worked on this property and a number of properties along this area in excess of 20 years, and that coastal bank has not moved at all within that particular time. So as far as the standards go from this commission, we do not meet the threshold of the eroding coastal bank where the setbacks would be increased to 20 times the erosion rate. Information we've submitted supports that. So we're looking at a 50-foot, in this particular case, 25-foot no disturb with a 50-foot no build. The project is designed with no need for waivers. It's a single-family dwelling with a septic system that would be located outside of the commission's 100-foot jurisdiction. In this particular case, although it's not, the Surfside area is not in any of the wellhead protection areas. It's not in a DEP Zone 2, but we would be putting in an IA system here for simply the issue of the bedroom credit. But it would be an IA treatment system that would be put into this particular case. In this particular case, you have an existing, the stone and shell driveway is already in place. So it's this one is this is a vacant lot that's been held by the family for a number of years. It is not located within a flood zone. It's not in an HESP jurisdiction. Again, it's essentially a by right application, if you will, with no waivers required or requested. And again, we have no DEP file number, so we'd be looking to continue. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. I did not know that Boulevard used to be called Central Ave. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think we should bring that back. But commissioners, questions or comments?
Yeah, just
John?
where's the well going, Paul?
If you look, John, to the, right where the cursor is right there, would be in that particular area.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 So that's right on the line, right?
It's on the 50.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other commissioners? Okay, questions or comments from members of the public? Seeing none, would you like to continue to December 19th?
Yes, please.
That will continue to December 19th. And we'll move on to Middleton, 51 Nobodere Avenue, also represented by Paul Santos.
Thank you. Again, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner and applicant, Thomas S. Middleton. This is property located at 51 Nobodere Avenue. It's in a butter to the project I just presented at 49. Resource areas are the same. Coastal bank, 50-foot, no build, 25-foot, no disturb. This particular case, actually, there is an existing dwelling that's been on this property for a number of years. It's a 1,088 square foot dwelling that's located at the front of the property towards Nobodere Avenue. Currently has an existing septic tank with a leach pit. In this particular case, the well is located at the front of the property. We would be looking to relocate the well, upgrade the septic system again to an IA system. System itself, both the tank and the trenches would be completely outside of the commission's jurisdiction. So this is basically an application for a second dwelling, proposed dwelling of approximately 1,500 square feet that would be constructed outside the 50-foot no build. 25-foot no disturb would be respected. And that is the extent of this application, not located within a flood hazard zone, not located within jurisdiction that would require a filing with NHESP. And happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Paul. Questions or comments from commissioners? Okay, seeing none. Questions or comments from members of the public? Paul, would you like to continue this one as well?
Yes.
This will continue to December 19th. And now we have Harborfront Realty Trust at Village Way, also represented by Paul Santos.
Thank you. Again, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner and applicant, Stephen L. Cohen, who is the trustee of Harborfront Realty Trust. This is a property with no specific, that's not my plan, with no specific address. It's actually located at the end of Village Way, out off of Pocomo Road. It's okay. The application is for the proposed removal and relocation of an existing set of beach stairs within the coastal bank and coastal dune beach interface within land subject to coastal storm flowage. This work was previously approved under DEP file number SE 483285. The order of conditions has lapsed and is therefore no longer valid, and the work regulated by it was never started. So this is essentially a duplicate application in which the permit itself outlived the COVID extension, I believe a 3-year extension, and so no other, and it just expired, I think, within the last few months. So we're back here to re-up this application. This application is located within land under the jurisdiction of the Mass Endangered Species Act. Although this permit is actually, that we had gotten back in 20, is still actually valid. So in this particular case, I still have a valid NHESP no take, no adverse possession finding for the same activity that we are here before you tonight. So this application, if you'll see, the end of Village Way, you have a set of beach stairs that's labeled up there. Those are the beach stairs to the far left. That's an approved set of beach stairs. You then have the small property, which is that existing stairs to be removed and relocated, which are moving from the location that you see on the small property to the west, and they're moving to the east. Then there is another set of stairs further down at the Providence Associates property. This property is a bit unique in that the properties that you see, both the Providence Associates property and the small property, do not front on the harbor. So this is a piece of property that is owned by the Harborfront Realty Trust that's been continuously used by, obviously, the abutting properties, but it's owned in fee separately, and these properties do not front on the harbor or have, their title does not go to the harbor. So this is a case where they're looking to get some separation, separate those stairs that to be removed to the far side to still be utilized by the small family. The other stairs would be left as they are also. That's the extent of the application. As I said, I do already have currently a valid no-take, no adverse possession letter from NHESP. We're back before you to get a new notice of intent to potentially move forward with this activity. This activity will involve some involvement from the small family, and hopefully we're opening up discussions with them to move forward here. But that's the extent of the application, moving the stairs in this particular case. There is a detail for the stair layout. There is a location where they are there, and that's the extent of the application. Happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you. Questions or comments from commissioners? Okay.
Answered my question.
Members of the public, questions or comments? Do you also not have a file number for this?
I do not.
Okay. So would you like to continue to December 19th?
Yes, please.
Harborfront Realty Trust will continue till December 19th. And that will take us on to 14 Tatamo Way Realty Trust, Tatimo Way, 14 Tatimo Way, represented by Katie Barnacle with Commissioner Turcott recused.
Great, thank you. Hi, I'm Katie Barnacle with Ilex Environmental, representing 14, I say Tatimo Way Realty Trust. And this is an existing building. There's going to be no work proposed on the existing home, but we are proposing a pool with a shed, patio, and a water closet. And resources on the site, we're on Hummock Pond, and there's the adjacent floodplain AE, which is elevation 9. There's a coastal beach. There's also a bordering vegetated wetland in one corner. And there is also a coastal bank, which is comprised partially of an existing wooden revetment, kind of an informal revetment. And so the pool is proposed to be set back 50 feet from the top of the coastal bank, the closest resource area. We are also proposing fencing around the pool, but it's also to make sure kids and pets are kept out of Hummock Pond because of the blue-green algae blooms that Hummock Pond has been experiencing. So it's kind of a safety reason for this property. There's also going to be some relocation of the driveway, which most of that is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. There is also a walkway that goes down to the pond that should be located off the property just to the west and away. And I know this is probably beyond the purview, but we've been contacted by abutters and interested parties on that way, and we're going to be working of relocating that way that people walk and bring their canoes and kayaks down to the pond. And that will probably be a request for determination that we're going to submit later to you when we know exactly where that way is going to be relocated. So the plan in front of you doesn't involve that work right now. But in case anyone asks, we will be dealing with that in the future when we meet with the interested parties out there and figure out what to do. We are not in estimated habitat. There is estimated habitat in Hummock Pond, but we're not in that. There is a bit of priority habitat in the on the pond side of this property, and we're not working within that priority habitat. I'm not sure what that's mapped for, the priority habitat, but under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act, work associated with single-family homes like we propose here is typically exempt from any further review under MESA. So there's no Wetlands Protection Act review under estimated and no MESA review under the priority mapping. And so the fencing is going to be located partially within the floodplain, but that should not affect the flow of the floodplain at all in this situation, and it's for safety of the property. I think that is it. We do have a DEP file number, Miracle Upon Miracles, and there is going to be some landscaping just to restore the areas that have been disturbed from the construction, and there will be ilex vegetation planted as part of that, I'm happy to say. And that is it. So we're requesting your approval tonight.
Thank you, Katie. Questions or comments from commissioners? Yes, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Katie, I'm looking at the 50-foot no structure line, and if I'm reading this correctly, is that a retaining wall on the corner of the pool? There's kind of a bold shaded line on the decking, or is that?
It's a wood fence, I think.
No, I see the wood. I see the wood
Oh,
fencing.
I see. It's on the northwest corner.
Right.
I don't know.
And it sticks over.
Yeah.
It looks like it's sticking over the 50. I just don't. It's not labeled, and I'm not sure what it is.
And the engineer knows about the 50-foot structural setback. He knows we can do some grading past that. So my guess is it's not a structure, but I can't tell you what that is.
Thank you, Katie. So we'll need clarification on
Yep.
that. Mike, is there additional questions or comments you had?
Just, I don't know if we saw detail on, is the fence just like a standard pool fence?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Other commissioners? Yes, Linda.
There's an awful lot of hardscape. I'm a little concerned about the amount of hardscape in that location.
Thank you. Other commissioners? All right, I guess it's my turn. So, the first thing is that I believe even if you are exempt from the additional filing requirements under MESA for priority habitat, you're going to run afoul of the anti-segmentation clause if you're trying to do the relocation of the way in a separate permit outside of this permit. So certainly check on that before close the hearing. And the second thing is related to the proposed wood fence that's been portrayed as being for safety reasons. You know, that is definitely a structure within the 50-foot buffer zone and in the 25-foot buffer zone. And it has, you know, it's not something just like a split rail. It has proposed boards and a gate. That's a significant structure. And I don't see how we could permit that. You know, safety is not one of our protected interests, although it's important. There are plenty of other ways to prevent access into the pond in non-structural ways, and it's our duty to make sure that we don't put structure in that area. So I think we need much more justification for that. I personally am categorically opposed to that fence in that location. To answer Linda's question related to hardscaping, I think this is one of those things that I don't like, but it happens to be it happens to be all outside of the 25-foot buffer zone, so it is under our current regulations allowed. But yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Just a comment on the further comment on the fence, and I'm not a code professional, but I believe if the pool has a safety cover, you don't need the fence any longer. It's kind of sounds strange to me, but that's the code these days.
Yeah, if
correct.
pools have auto covers, pool fences aren't required. I think the applicant has proposed the fence as a dual purpose fence, to fence in the pool and to fence out Hummock Pond. I would think there's plenty of opportunity to move the location of the fence or change the material of the fence or use some entirely separate alternative for safety that wouldn't run us afoul of putting structure really right up close to the top of the bank. So any other
Yeah,
commissioners?
we can take a look at that.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, I'll move on to members of the public. Ms. Alger, please introduce yourself for the record and who you may represent, and then say your piece.
Thank you. Sarah Alger, I represent the Price family immediately to the west of this property. I think you're headed for a continuance, so I won't take a ton of your time. I was concerned about the lack of detail on the fence. It's my belief that it's a structure within both the 25 and the 50. It's going to impact habitat and impact wildlife passage and would require a waiver that, in my view, should not be granted. I also think there should be a current delineation of the wetlands on site done that's flagged so that it can be verified by staff. If you look at notes 2 and 5 on the plan, it says that the data was compiled from a digital file from Nantucket surveyors, but then the plan references locations that appear to have come from Jeff Blackwell. And then note 5 says that the wetland boundaries were reviewed and amended by Catherine Barnacle, but there isn't any way to determine in what way that those wetland boundaries were amended. It's also unclear where the wetland boundary is being taken, because if you look at I think it's the 50-foot line, it's kind of a straight line, but if you look at the top of the bank, see how the top of the bank really curves in there on the west? There's no curve to that 25, is it the 25-foot line? I can't read it from here. It goes kind of straight, it kind of goes straight across. There's no commensurate curve that meets the curve of that top of the bank. I think it's the 25-foot line, just goes kind of straight across. So for that reason, I think they really should have a current delineation done. There was a prior delineation that was approved in 2021. It expired earlier this year. But that delineation had areas of the property that Brian Madden had delineated as being bordering vegetative wetlands. And I heard Ms. Barnacle mention BVWs, but I don't see any notation of a BVW on the plan. And I think if there is a BVW, it's probably up closer to where the pool is, in which case I think you need to be asking about what's the depth to groundwater and what impact is the installation of that pool going to have on groundwater. Let's see. I thought that the work to install that fence, it's not within area, it's not entirely within previously disturbed areas, so I wasn't sure if it really did meet the exemption requirements for MESA, and that there probably should be a filing with them. And I think it's just really important when you do go ahead and grant this to make sure that you're clear that you're not approving either any of the path work, because that path work, the paths are shown particularly on the landscape plan, as being relocated. They're going to have that's going to have a significant impact on a lot of mature vegetation, particularly down as you get closer to the pond. So I just want to make sure that whatever approval you grant doesn't mistakenly also grant approval for work within those, within that way. That's it.
Thank you, Sarah. Will and I had a, albeit brief, discussion, since this is a busy week, about whether we even have the required information to open this hearing. And I allowed it, but now I think we might have gone the wrong way. You know, in our regulations, we require the following: supportive plans, maps, and documents shall include at a minimum DEP wetland delineation forms for all vegetated wetland resource areas, USDA and NRCS soils maps information, wetland or habitat restriction information, all wetland flagging location numbers placed in the field for resource delineation. I mean, I don't know if we have everything we need here, and in those regulations, it specifically says that we have the ability to not even act on permits without that information. I think we should probably move this towards a continuance to get that information. How do other commissioners feel? Yep.
Everything is wrong and they have to redo it.
Okay.
For 1 year, so I know there's some issues.
This has to be recognized, please. Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we should request whatever information is needed.
Katie, will you assent to a continuance to the 19th of December?
Absolutely, I would like to request that. And just for how this evolved, and I don't think we need to go into too much detail because we'll certainly clear up all these questions that came up, that were brought up by everybody. But we just used the wetland boundary that was used in the septic system order of conditions, which expired a month ago. So I lost sight of that 1 month expiration, and I did change some BVW to coastal beach because I didn't think it met the definition of a bordering vegetated wetland, but I see there's no BVW identified in that corner. So certainly the continuance will be able to get you all that information, and I do appreciate you opening the meeting for this. And now let's continue it. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. This will continue to December 19th. And how would we like to proceed with Tatamo Way Realty Trust at 16 Tatamo Way to Timo, if you prefer?
Well, this one's a little simpler.
Okay, we'll open the application for this, although I don't necessarily agree, but we'll open the application. So
Okay.
Katie, go ahead.
And understanding that these issues are similar on this one, because this is the adjacent property. But again, I'm Katie Barnacle with Ilex Environmental, representing Tatimo Way Realty Trust at number 16. And the proposal here is to, there is fencing now. This building was built in 1986 under an approved order of conditions. The deck was built in accordance with that order of conditions. The lawn was built in accordance with that order of conditions, and also the bulkhead. And there's an existing fence on top of the bulkhead and around much of the property already. And again, this is, there's no pool on this property, but this is the fencing that would protect kids and pets from getting into Hummock Pond. So there's that safety issue that we talked about on the other property. The work that's proposed on this, is the reconstruction of the existing deck, and it actually will be a little bit smaller. It's within the same footprint as was previously constructed back in circa 1986. There's two little corners closest to the pond that will not be rebuilt, so there's actually less square footage. And then any landscaping will be replanted if it gets impacted by the reconstruction of the deck. So there's the fence construction, the reconstruction of the deck, and then there's going to be a relocation of the driveway, which is further back, and much of it is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. And so there's landscaping associated with the renovation of, excuse me, of the driveway. We do have same issues with priority habitat and endangered species. The estimated habitat. We're not in estimated habitat. A portion of the work is located within priority habitat, but it's just going to be reconstruction of existing lawfully occurring structures. There is another way on the eastern part of the site, and that the only portion that's going to be worked on in that path is just where the path connects up to the roadway. So it's majority of it is outside of the work is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. And it's really just determining to make sure the interested parties that use this path, if they can get through where the fence is and where the existing landscaping is. So we may have to shift the fence a foot or two, but that's included in this notice of intent because it's actually on the property. The other one is not included because it was in a different lot. So this has a little bit of way work, but it's outside of the 75-foot, and most of it is outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. So this one's a little more simple. The majority of the fencing that's there is allowable. Sorry, it's allowed under the previous order of conditions, and they were asking just to replace it. And then there's the reconstruction of the deck. That much of that work is located within the floodplain. The floodplain is marked as the black dash line, but the deck is located actually above the actual elevation 9, but the footings are in the floodplain. So we don't believe that that's going to be any impact to the floodplain in this area. We do have a file number from DEP. And there is a shed relocation. It was located inside the driveway, and now it's just being shifted. But the structure will be outside of the 50-foot setback. In this area, it's the Hummock Pond is the resource area, coastal beach, and the top of the bank. There's no bordering vegetated wetland in this area. And we request an approval.
Thank you, Katie. I'll note that Commissioner Turcotte is recused from this project as well. And commissioners, questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
John, go ahead.
When you say reconstruct the deck, are you just the decking above, or are you going to rebuild the entire frame as well?
It was built in 1986, so I assume it needs to be rebuilt.
So new footings as well?
Yeah. Unless they're in good condition, then I don't think we know exactly what the full condition is until we start building.
Okay.
I would assume full reconstruction.
So that's going to run us afoul of the pre-existing use requirements. Use and normal maintenance is allowed. Repair and reconstruction is not allowed, especially if structural elements like footings are being replaced. That's considered new structure under our regulations. While I have the floor here too, I'll note that I have the same concerns about the fence. I understand that part of it on this site is actually existing, but there is replacement and there is a proposed new section which is considerable in length. It's almost half the whole section. I'll just say too that I think the same comments about updating the delineation and having that submitted to us apply on this property as it applies on the 14 property. Other commissioners? Mike, go ahead.
It's just more of a question on the reconstruction of the deck. If the footings remain this untouched, could you reconstruct a deck with footings untouched?
It depends. We went out of our way during the regulatory update to discuss this. We talked about having some type of percentage-based rules, but we decided that that's not really relevant to apply one thing to every site. So it's up to us as a commission to decide, along with our staff advice, as to what is considered repair, what's considered replacement. My opinion is if that you're just doing non-structural work, it's maintenance. Once you start messing around with support systems, that's replacement. But that's just my opinion. Linda, go ahead.
Working in the construction area like John, Mike to some extent, replacing decking and stuff. Replacing decking is maintenance. It's it start to pull, because mine's pulling up now. It's wood, it's cedar.
Yeah,
I
we're
never
not
treated
talking about
it
the
and-
decking. We're talking about the supports.
Well, that can be part of it if they've been rotted out. That's part of maintenance, when you have to replace the supports. So I'm not as opposed to calling this maintenance, having done it myself.
Okay, Will, I see you, but Joe, what would you like to say?
Are these two worth a visit?
If you want to do a visit, we can schedule a visit. Should we do that for, should we do that for December 16th?
Yeah.
I'll,
We'll have a nice Monday.
I will note that I won't be there, but I'll do it a different time. Yes, Will, go ahead.
I know I've said this before too, but I'm also happy to go with any one commissioner if you got to go on your own. I know sometimes it can be strange to just roll into one of the bigger properties or whatever, and if you want to come in a town truck, just call me.
He's got a big truck.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Okay, we'll move on to, oh, Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, which part of this fence is new that you were talking about? Is it where it says proposed fence to the right there?
Yeah, it's the northeasterly side.
Okay.
And there's a new proposed gate in the north terminus, and there's a replacement in the northwest that, or actually along all of the north, that we'll have to see if that's really really a repair or replacement. If it's a replacement,
Right.
it might run afoul of the pre-existing use. So it could potentially be 100% of this fence is considered under regulations as new, or if not, it's probably at least 30 to 50%.
Right, okay, thank you.
Members of the public, do you wish to speak? Seeing not, Katie, it's the consensus of the commission that we would like to continue. Would you assent to a continuance to the 19th?
Yes, I would like to request a continuance, and I'll clarify the deck issue, because I certainly don't want to misspeak and say something incorrect. So, and then we'll also take a look at the fence locations.
Thank you. This will continue to December 19th. And we'll move on to 6 Swain Street LLC.
Thank you.
at 6 Swain Street, represented by Art Gasparo with Commissioner Turcotte recused.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm before the commission tonight with a notice of intent for a proposed addition within land subject to coastal storm flowage and the buffer zone to an isolated vegetated wetland. We're down on the Brant Point area, and a really completely developed site and heavily developed area. The addition is 220 square feet. Proposed within an existing planting bed and shell driveway, so completely, disturbed area. It's proposed on the opposite side of the structure from the resource area. We have requested the waiver on the basis because it is within the 50-foot buffer zone. We have no reasonable alternative in order to construct this addition any further away from the boundary. This side of the structure in terms of alternatives was picked because it's the furthest. The structure, the addition is sized at the minimum really that the applicant just really needs for additional space to his home. We believe that there is no adverse impact on the interest protected by the commission when you look at the conditions of this site, the surrounding area and the wetland itself, that permitting this addition would not negatively impact any of those protected interests, which we hope you agree. And we'd be happy to address questions or concerns that you might have with the application.
Thank you, Art. Questions or comments from members of the public? Or sorry, members of the commission first? Yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Art, just so I'm clear that I'm reading the plan correctly, that the addition does not go into the 50, it just kind of straddles it there?
Oh.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, no, it's completely within the 50-foot buffer zone. The solid line, which is somewhat curved, I know there's quite a few lines there. There's the dash lines represent a way, but no, the house itself is completely within the 50.
Okay, I'm sorry, I see it now. Okay.
Yeah, it's solidly within
Yeah,
the 50 and
okay.
half the house is within the 25. Other commissioners? Okay. My comment is related to the land subject to coastal storm flowage. Is this addition going to have flood vents or?
It will. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Okay. Questions or comments from members of the public? We have just one member of the public left, and she wishes to comment. Go ahead.
Well, it's nice to be here once again. Willa Arsenal for the Nantucket Land and Water Council. We appreciate that it's moving away from the resource area, but considering the constraints of the lot and the location of the property, it just doesn't seem appropriate to put in a new structural addition. And so we have concerns about the waiver request.
Thank you. So, commissioners, it is our role when waivers are being requested to evaluate both of the sides of the equation. So they've asked for the waiver under no reasonable alternatives and no adverse impacts. So we have to see, do we think there's reasonable alternatives? My personal opinion is not that would allow this project to proceed. Does anyone think there's a reasonable alternative here?
Other than not
so then
doing
the
it,
second
no.
side of the equation that's maybe a little bit more interesting is adverse impacts. Do people think there are adverse impacts by having the additional structure? And then go ahead.
I don't think so. The addition's on the already disturbed driveway side of this structure. So I don't see an adverse impact there. It's already hard packed. Cars are parked on it. I don't see the adverse impact of substantial that I would have a big problem with it.
Tim?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Linda. It seems like a pretty modest proposal and doesn't seem to have a lot of impact.
Mike?
Yeah, with the, on the driveway side and with the flood vents, I'm okay with it too.
Art, what's happening with roof runoff? Is that being infiltrated?
No, there's no proposal because the surface is so low, and it's such a small area at 220 square feet. We haven't proposed any kind of infiltration, or don't believe that such a small area is likely to have an adverse, any kind of an impact related to runoff off of the roof. I mean, if the commission felt strongly, we certainly could, put downspouts into a very shallow infiltration trench.
Yeah, I mean, you are putting impervious area in a area that is currently pervious. You know, it's even actually a little bit better than pervious. It's a planting area. So I think it might be wise to do that, and also to potentially replace the plantings to make up that storage capacity on site. But I see that Joe has a question or comment.
I've been there many times. I don't have a problem with the proposal.
Okay. Commissioners?
Yeah,
Go ahead, John.
I agree with Seth about the runoff. It's a pretty decent sized roof there, so that would be something I'd look for.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the applicant's point that it's 200 square feet, but it's not de minimis. It is going to increase the runoff on site, so.
I just don't want to dig it up.
2 people out of 6 here are advocating for that. Art?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we could certainly provide, it's up to you whether you wanted, I know you're going to have a heavy meeting next time. We'd certainly be amenable to, a condition if you chose to approve this, that required us to provide a revised plan for staff that included a infiltration trench for the roof runoff.
Do we have everything we need to continue otherwise?
We got a number?
We
To
have
close otherwise?
all of the things, and I'd be happy to write a condition like that.
All right, let's close the hearing when we can, and I think conditioning it to be prior to construction, the plans are updated.
So moved.
Or plans are submitted for approval is fine.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda.
Second.
Thank you, Mike.
I approved one.
Mike Mizzarelli, are you in favor?
Aye.
Linda Williams?
Aye.
Joe Plandowski? Aye. John Schaefer?
Aye.
Tim Brain?
Aye.
Seth Engelborg votes aye.
Oh my God.
And that carries with Commissioner Turcott recused.
Thank you.
Thank you as well. We have no amended orders of condition today. Before we do the public meeting, we're gonna take a recess until 7:35 for bathroom or water breaks.
Or just to get up and move.
See you then.
I think I'm going to have pizza delivered here on the 19th.
It has to be less than $50 worth of pizza.
If we do,
Linda, you've got too much experience with this. Do you like some long boys? I know, that it says on the box, it says Long Boy Gang, and I was like, these are the short Slim Jims. The big ones are the.
I've never seen a cigarette cart in a Slim Jims before, though.
That's what's up. Yeah.
Take that stuff in.
My personal favorite is the third mechanically separated chicken. Chicken that is sprayed with high pressure water and run through a bunch of conveyor belts and stuff until the chicken is off of the chicken. And then take that chicken and smash it with some chicken. Would you like it? It's fresh from yesterday. You want it? I love this bread. Elmrecht, which is unbelievable. It started in Swampscott. Best donuts you will ever have in your life. I have done the research.
And Will, the latest agendas that you printed out, can I see one of those? Because I think we.
It'll be really quick, and I found out the thing that I was concerned about, but the origin stuff, we can play that as much as we want, based on the stuff, so that we can also be updated as well.
Yeah, we can talk about it today, but we have to vote on it. Sorry.
I wish I thought that I was thinking about it all week. That would be so cool.
Okay, we're all here. We're gonna come out of the recess and we're going to move on in the meeting to the public meeting. We're gonna move on to request for determination of applicability. We have Alan at 9 Pond Road, represented by David Haynes.
Good evening again. Hopefully this will close too. This is a request for determination to review and verify the wetland boundary of a very small isolated wetland on the back of the property. It's within, there's a meadow back there, and this is a slight depression, and we've mapped it as a wet meadow. It is jurisdictional under your regulations as an isolated wetland. It is less than 500 square feet. However, contrary to my letter, which implies that it would be under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, it would not be, because it is not contain a quarter acre foot. The water would have to be about 25 or 30 feet deep to be a quarter acre foot. So we're asking for your comments and your approval of the delineation, and as a resource area, excuse my dog, under the wetlands under the Nantucket wetland bylaw, and under the Army Corps of Engineers federal act, but not under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. Excuse me, it's been a long night for me too.
That's
Sorry.
fine. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any comments or questions? Will, have you been out to the site and do you have a recommendation for us?
Yes, this one, I've been out to the site, and this one actually requires a positive and a negative determination. Also, as a side note, David, it's good it was just your dog and not your like entire farm of animals. We got.
Yep. I'll bring in the donkey.
We have a positive 2A, and that's that the boundary delineations of the resource areas described on the reference plans are confirmed as accurate. Therefore, the resource area boundaries confirmed in this determination are binding. I think it was like 4 feet shy of the state, or of our new minimum, sorry. And then we also have a negative determination that the work in the buffer zone is indeed in the buffer zone, but will not alter the area subject to jurisdiction under the act. And that is it. There are 3 boxes checked, but those 2 boxes,
I don't think there's any work proposed
No
at this
work,
time.
oh, I thought there was a
Mr. Haynes,
shed.
is that correct?
Where did that happen?
No, there's an existing shed, but there's no work proposed under this request.
Oh,
So we simply need a positive 2A for the
Positive 2A.
motion. Is there a motion to issue that?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Joe Plandowski, John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
and Seth Engelberg votes aye. Thank you, David.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Minor modifications, we have none. Certificates of compliance, we have 1. We have 04 TST 36 Washington Pond LLC at 36 Washington Pond Road, SC 48 3425. This was Art Gasparo's project. Art, are you still here and wishing to comment, or is Will doing it for you?
happy to.
Go for it.
Okay. Will.
Art, I'm jumping in if you're still here. I don't even know. But this was 36 Washing Pond. The order permitted the installation of a grass path, boardwalk, fire pit, and granite steps. This was buffer zone to coastal bank and BVW, no waivers. It did require NHESP. We only have to, sorry, I'm skipping a step here. Site is in compliance. I made my site visit last week. Might have been on Saturday. I can't remember anymore. But we have one continuing condition for this one, which will be condition 19. And that is that the grass path from the boardwalk to the top of the stairs will follow the Town of Nantucket FERT BMPs with no permanent irrigation and no pesticides allowed in the path area.
Okay.
Thank you, commissioners. Questions or comments? Is there a motion to issue the cert with ongoing condition 19?
19, so moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Joe. By roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski. John Schaefer.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously. And we'll be moving on to orders of conditions, which we have 5 of them. And the first one will be 123 Cliff Road. RJ is recused. We'll set these out. Did people receive them?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Linda.
And
You got 5 emails in my address book.
we gotta put them on the screen too.
Yep. Working on it.
Which one is this?
123 was our first, yeah.
123 Cliff.
Trying to find it. Ah, there it is.
All right. 123 Cliff Road, bring it up on the screen. We'll only just learn that Alt S means share, but it doesn't even save any time. So 123 Cliff Road, the order permits the proposed removal of the existing structure, construction of a new dwelling and a pool at 123 Cliff Road, buffer zone 2 bordering vegetated wetland. We get a waiver, no NHESP, conditions 18 and 19. And then we have our standard pool conditions. I fixed this and I don't know how. Sewage treatment still got in there. Whatever, anyway. Wastewater or stormwater, either one works. And then we have our lighting condition for chapter 102. Waivers to allow the foundation within 2 feet of groundwater. No additional adverse impacts, so we granted that waiver. And also, there were 2 waivers applied for the project area being separated by a vehicular access way to the BVW. Is there any questions? Anything else?
Commissioners?
What'd you say the second waiver is for?
What's that? Sorry.
You said there was another waiver besides the one that's on here?
Yeah, so
it's a
there's,
fun one. It's a fun one where the resource area and the applicant's lot is separated by a road or some type of other public or semi-public pedestrian way.
Okay, I got it.
basically Gosnold hugs that property and the BVWs are across the street, so.
It's one word. If we are all okay with this,
I'll make a
then,
motion.
yeah, we need a motion to approve as
Amended.
I guess. Okay,
Second.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you, Mike. By roll call vote, Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Joe Pendowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
He's muted.
you're on mute.
You're still muted.
He's got the dog too now.
You're still muted.
You're
You're still muted. Oh, there you
Okay,
go.
okay. I blame my assistant here.
Yep. Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries with Commissioner Turcott recused.
What's the next one? Mid-Island?
No,
What happened to Mid-Island? Did we continue that?
we don't have the file number for
Oh,
that.
that's right.
And the next one is DJS Realty Trust at Oak Hollow.
What a disaster.
One moment, please. I don't know if Microsoft is listening, but I really wish Word had tabs. I don't think Microsoft is listening. Anyway, this one's for 11 Oak Hollow Lane. The order permits the construction of a new structure and sheds with associated utilities and grading. No NHESP review required. And we had our general conditions 18 and 19, and then our lighting condition for chapter 102. The waiver required, all structures that are non-water dependent must maintain, it's our 2-foot separation of groundwater again. We applied the no additional adverse impacts. Anything else?
Questions or comments?
No.
Is there a motion to approve as drafted?
So moved.
Mr. Chairman?
Take Mike and Linda on the second. By roll call vote, Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Joe Pendowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Tim Brain,
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye. That carries unanimously. The next one is the Nick/Pat Redding Nancy Breckenridge LLC, 170 Cliff Road.
Computer was thinking for a while there.
Holding the goal for it to be banded. Yeah, it's a seagull.
What kind of seagull?
Lesser blackback gull. LBB.
LBB. All right, we got 170 Cliff Road. This order permits the proposed construction of a cottage, pool, patio, cabana, utilities, and grading at 170 Cliff Road within buffer zone to a BVW. No waiver required. We are outside of natural heritage. We had our typical conditions 18 and 19, and then our typical pool conditions. Let me make sure. How did this happen? I fixed my list today. I must have done it after I drafted the orders. It's been a crazy day, guys. Not even all work. Let's just say February. And then condition 25, all exterior lighting with chapter 102. And then we had no waiver.
Yep, Linda.
The only thing I would add when you're doing this, when we have dates, because we had to do this on the ZBA and planning board decisions when I started drafting them. Go back to the dates.
Up top.
No, down in the conditions. When you say the pool shall not be chemically treated between November 1st and May 1st of any given year, that's the phrase that usually has to accompany dates because they carry of any given year.
I do not mind adding that in.
It just makes me more comfortable to do that because we had to do it in the ZBA decisions. when
That's
we do
fine.
this.
Change it and change condition.
Without it being tiny little letters.
Yeah, I know.
Just space it and it will stop that.
Anyone
No, it
else?
won't. Of course not.
Is there a motion to approve the order as amended?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you,
Second.
Linda. Thank you, Mike. By roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli.
Aye.
Archie Turcott.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Joe Pandowski.
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg, aye. That carries unanimously.
35 Meadow.
Yeah, we have Morash Gift Realty Trust, 35 Meadowview Drive.
All these people gotta have pools. I'm not a pool person.
Better than the boat.
Need to add the lighting. Oh, no, there it is. I see it. It's not at the end.
Oh, I'm off. There we go. 35 Meadowview Drive. We had two in my neighborhood tonight. These will be easy for me to check on. This was the proposed construction of a pool, patio, and cabana.
Put on the
Oh.
Zoom.
Oh. Oh. There we go. Sharing is caring. So the order permits the proposed construction of a pool, patio, cabana with associated utilities and grading at 35 Meadowview. Buffer zone to a BVW, no waiver required. We're outside of NHESP. We condition, yep. Oh, gotcha. Conditions 18 and 19. And then our lighting condition is 20 and the pool conditions. See, we got wastewater treatment facility on this one.
It is a wastewater treatment facility.
And that's what it's going to be from now on. Anyway,
It is, that is the right term, wastewater treatment.
again, David Gray, I'm very sorry. And also, my past experience with a water and sewer department should really have me writing that
I think
correctly.
we put stormwater in one of them. It's waste.
Yeah, it's wastewater.
You gotta change that.
We approve them.
It's
Wastewater's better.
Make sure they say waste, they all say wastewater.
They all said stormwater, yes. Sorry, guys.
Okay, any comments, questions, additions
Motion to approve
as amended?
as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. By roll call, Mike,
Aye.
RJ,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Joe. John.
Aye.
Tim.
And then we had a
You're
whole
on
string of
mute.
19.
Sorry,
December
aye.
19th.
And I vote aye. That carries unanimously. And we have 6 Swain Street LLC. It's 6 Swain Street.
Is this your aerobic exercise today, going back and forth?
And I like your son pretty well.
In this weather with the sleet going on? Oh, boy.
I got hit by a car today. All right, anyway. Yeah, I don't care. It still happened. All right, next one, 6 Swain Street. This order permits the proposed addition to the existing dwelling, including a crawl space foundation at 6 Swain Street, buffer zone to a BVW and LSCSF. Waiver was required. We had our normal conditions 18 and 19, and then I added a condition 20. The applicant shall submit an updated plan to staff for approval showing where the roof runoff will be infiltrated to. I think we had a second half to that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we wanted that.
I was gonna say there was a whole second thing here. And it was for the trees proposed to be removed. We want to see a plan
No, this
for.
is different. This was, they're putting the addition in the landscaping bed. We want the on-site plant flood storage capacity replaced, basically. Somewhere next to the, yeah, John, go ahead.
Do we need to say there was no reasonable alternative here too, or is adverse
That's-
impact enough?
Yeah, that's in the waiver, I mean, yeah, we didn't technically say there's no reasonable alternatives, but if you read what the text of 393.
If you read the thing that's in there, okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure.
All right, we'll say replicate the.
It doesn't even need to be a landscape plan, just a planting plan.
I'll change that after. Guys, I can't write a sentence right now with noises.
Landscape planting plan. Because if we say landscape plan, then they could just say, oh, I'm just gonna build a dry well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Storage capacity. Sounds good.
I had the sentence in my head, but I got 18 different alterations. Linda.
He's got it, just.
Stop. Thank you. You're welcome.
All right. Anything else? Is there a motion to approve as amended?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Thank you, Linda and Mike. By roll call, Mike Miserelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski.
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Engelborg, aye. This carries with Commissioner Turcott recused.
That dog looks awfully comfortable there, Tim.
And we will move on in our agenda. We have no extension of orders tonight. In other business, we have no minutes to approve. We don't really have any monitoring reports, although we did receive a updated EIR on the Lily Pond Park. I don't know if staff's gonna talk about that later, but it's sort of like a monitoring report. But
Environmental.
it's an environmental impact report, but it's not really anything we have to do. So we'll be moving on to enforcement actions or potential enforcement actions. Yes.
Quick update, and I'm racking my brain to see if there's any other, I'm sure there's other irons in the fire, but 62 Winoma, I did not get to write tickets, which I guess is a good thing, but it would have been a learning experience. Didn't write any tickets. Will got an email that night from several project representatives that they had been retained like that moment. I forwarded the letter that's not included in the packet, I believe.
It is not included in the packet,
So
but
I'll
we
get
have
that
a
in for the
letter of
next one.
engagement from Bracken Engineering.
Yeah.
With the violator indicating that that firm has been retained to survey the area and submit a plan. So
Yeah.
that's what we need them to do. My comment on it, though, is they're pretty vague about when they were doing the survey. They said we hope to get to it in 4 to 6 weeks. I think we should amend the order saying that it needs to be submitted by 1 month from today, and if they don't do that, then you can go start writing tickets again.
They had a survey, that's how they put the fence there.
I know, but it needs to be resurveyed because of the violation that was done.
Really?
So, commissioners, questions or comments on that course of action? Okay, so Will, can we amend the enforcement?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that.
We need a motion to amend that enforcement.
We do.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Linda. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. By roll call vote, Mike Miserelli.
Aye.
RJ Turcott.
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski.
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
Tim Brand.
Aye.
Seth Engelberg. Aye. Other enforcement or potential enforcements?
Nothing that I have to comment on tonight that I can think of, but I do have just a quick question just before we move on. Do we want to start that 30-day clock from today or tomorrow? Not that it makes the biggest difference, but I'm just looking for a date.
Let's do it from today.
All right. I agree.
Question.
Yes.
Whatever happened to the sandbag saga out on Baxter Road? Did we ever follow up on that? The bags where we determined where the sand came from and nothing.
I can
Yeah. Will,
update
you need to
vaguely.
update on that.
Jeff would know so much more about this than I, but I was one of the people who went down to take pictures of it. From what I understand, they have proof that they got the sand from elsewhere and not from the
Right.
beach. And that has been submitted to at least Jeff and Vince.
Yeah, at the last hearing, we dealt with
touched on
that
it a
part
bit.
of the, we just need to be clear about what the property number is here.
63, is it?
I'm 99.9% sure,
63
but I'm
back
not saying
there.
I think so.
So we dealt with the details on the sandbags, but then there was another issue that arose about the viewing platform. And Will, you said you were gonna go and check it.
I think Jeff went, and I don't have Jeff right now, but I've also seen it at least twice in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to run out with a measuring wheel, but I think
Yeah,
it's likely
please-
within buffer
Please do
zone.
that.
So
And
it's,
it's come to the,
it's not supposed to be there, right? Without
it's definitely not
without
supposed to be
any-
there. We also we also requested some additional information on the permitting history of the stairs on the site. It's unclear whether they have a permit or not, so if you could please go out to the site and check on those type of things, that would be great.
And just to
Yeah.
clarify, Jeff did literally go out the next day, but I don't have.
Yeah, it's fine. I
Okay.
know it's
Or
not
anything.
here, but if
I
you
was
could,
curious.
if you could just go again or talk to him and then send out a letter to the commission with those details so that we could get that back on the agenda and move forward on that. That's great. 1998
That's
isn't
20
the-
years
isn't
off.
the date that matters. 1978 is the date that matters. So, yeah, Will, can you do all those things? Okay.
Yeah.
Any other enforcements or potential enforcements?
Negative, unless you got one.
I think Linda wants to talk about 102 Baxter, but,
They had a whole Mondo party out there.
yeah,
Yeah, we did.
we don't
They
regulate,
even put pictures up there of all the 500 people that were standing up there on that bluff.
yeah, we don't regulate parties or furniture. We regulate structure, so.
There's a structure, there's a whole deck there now. She was told to take it down, she didn't take it down.
It's an at-grade deck. We talked about this, and.
My God.
All
We
right,
did two
well,
meetings
We're
on it.
gonna not really
115.
go 115, yeah. I don't think we're really gonna advance that unless we have more details. So, Will, we're all set with everything on here?
Yes.
All right, reports? Crack?
Nothing for me.
Oh, sorry. Crack is nothing really new. We're still working on refining suggested updates to the zoning laws to take into account sea level rise, et cetera, coastal resiliency.
Thank you, Tim. CPC? Now you're up,
Nothing
John.
new. Yeah.
Nothing MPDC?
We had a meeting on Monday. It was a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen where we reviewed traffic, potential safety and improvements to traffic, and we just submitted comments on a survey system, but there'll be much more to come on that.
Thank you. Harbor Plan? Linda? Harbor Plan update?
We got a draft finally.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a quorum on Monday. So we're meeting this Monday. Hopefully we'll have a quorum because the other boards that have not appointed people to take over positions that other people left. So we're down to like 5 or 6 members, and there were 9, and we're having trouble getting a quorum at the moment this time of year. But they do have a draft, we're going to send it out to all the stakeholders, and we'll see what happens next.
So I'm the
Thank you.
NP and EDC harbor plan person now, but nobody ever notified me of
And we didn't
of
even
the
know they
meeting.
appointed anybody because they, for months they refused to do it.
All right, yeah.
We never
I'll work
got
on that
notified.
with Linda. So
Yeah, I mean,
Well, then be there Monday.
I couldn't have been there. I was
Mike,
at the NP meeting.
Mike, if you coordinate with
During the morning.
Linda or Jeff and
Yeah.
Kim and all those people, they'll get you set up.
Okay.
We gotta get sworn in.
You do have to get sworn in prior to that. So that's all for reports. Commissioners' comments?
Can we have food next meeting?
Quick question.
Tim, go ahead.
You won't?
How do I sign stuff? I won't be back until the 14th.
You won't be here on the 19th for the 19th meeting?
I will be on the 19th, yes.
Oh, for the
Okay.
site visit.
We don't have a meeting.
Oh, site visit.
We don't, the site visits are on the 16th? Will you
I'll be, yeah, I'll be on the site visit. I can do it then.
Okay.
Okay.
I personally won't be at the site visit, so you guys can have fun without me, but I'll do it a different time with Will. Yes, Joe, go ahead.
You just went through a whole pile of NOIs with the 1219 attached to it.
Yes, we
And you just got done with a process meeting a couple weeks ago. I mean, how do we handle this so we get everything in order?
we don't.
Will, go ahead.
If I'm understanding the question correctly, I can't speak right now. Even if we don't, are you asking if we can have a more efficient system for next meeting? Like our procedural update?
In terms of not having as many 1219s as we had tonight, which is almost the whole thing.
Like just continuances?
I don't know how you avoid them.
Yeah.
Here's what happens when we get back on it. We now do a rough review of everything and then vote on it.
Pretty much.
Take half the time we spent already on this thing.
It'll be like our, yeah,
It is within my authority as chair to decide how limited the review should be. So instead of having the applicants open up everything with the introduction they normally do, they could just we could just say, commissioners, do you have any questions or comment? I think we're able to do that, but we'll go ahead.
I also don't want to get too into the weeds here, not to steal a Jeff common saying, but I'm pretty sure that if you were to, and I'm not saying we'd want to do this or not, but I'm pretty sure that it's possible if you were to make a motion at the next meeting to say, okay, here's our previous, and make a motion to vote through last meeting's NOIs that just didn't have an NHESP number. I can verify 100% on that, but I was picking some brains on it today. And
Yeah, we can do that, but I
That's
don't
the
want to,
thing.
I don't want to do that. I would prefer we keep it until we have the procedural update.
I don't particularly like that
That's gonna
either,
be
but-
more typical of what we do at that point anyway, so I just ask people for their patience, but while we're on the topic of procedural update, we basically, last meeting, the commissioners were all fine with the updates. Will, in his staff capacity, asked us to not vote on the procedural update last meeting because he had some thoughts on, I think, the order of the agenda.
Which
Can you
isn't
just
even
tell
a
us what your
problem.
thoughts are now?
So there's not even an issue with the order of the agenda because we can play with that as much as we want. The way that the procedural update's written, there's not a agenda order set in stone. It's just for how we're going to handle it. So
Okay.
it's not really a huge issue, but my thought was to keep all the public meeting stuff right in the beginning as much as we can, move into public hearing and do all of our NOIs, do the non-waiver, do the waivers, and then move into orders and then other business. It felt more streamlined to my brain than doing NOIs and then drafting orders and then popping back to, but this is all stuff we can just talk about outside the meeting even, from what I've
Yes.
learned this week.
That's fine. I think we can even change the order of the agenda at the meeting if we need
Yeah.
to, but, so let's put this definitively on the agenda for the 19th. Well, we have to because we are hoping that this
It'll
procedural
be a
update
vote.
goes into.
We're gonna start in
into
January,
account
right?
On January 1st, so all we need is a vote, but we have to have the vote at that meeting. Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we're gonna start it.
So make sure that gets on. And other commissioners' comments?
Motion to adjourn?
Nah, we need administrator staff reports first.
Sorry.
Yeah, I do.
Way too early.
My administrator staff report is that I will be here for an extra 5 minutes to get that procedural update on the next agenda right now, because I want that more than any of you do.
And we're not signing tonight?
Before we adjourn, we don't have
e-signatures.
physical orders today. We're gonna be doing e-signatures. I'll
Glad I
sign the real
didn't.
one. Thank you. Do you need to say anything about the SEIR for Lily Pond or not really?
No, but I would be happy to chat about it if anybody wants to call on the phone. No,
Okay.
I meant outside of the meeting.
So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
We all have a
So
motion
moved.
to adjourn.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you, RJ, for the second. By roll call vote, Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
RJ Turcott,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Joe Plandowski.
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
Tim Brain.
Aye.
Seth Lingenborg. Aye. That carries unanimously. Thank you all for a good meeting, and we'll see you on the 19th.
Are you going to the
Thanks, everybody.
end or whatever that thing is?
The 19th gonna